Welcome to Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And today we're going to talk about MCU's peak from 2019, Avengers Endgame, a film that was up for one Oscar, visual effects. Don't really care. Don't really matter. That's not a part of this conversation today. If you came for Oscar talk, yeah, come back next week. I don't know what to tell you. We're gonna talk about the MCU in light of the new Black Panther film, Wakanda Forever, that just came out a couple days ago and has received pretty mixed reviews. You know, there's people who seem to dig it. There's people who seem to really despise it, and there seems to be people who are kind of down the middle, which is kind of where I am. I appreciated a lot of the effort, but I didn't really understand what the story was doing. I thought there was just way too much happening. The plot was like, whoa, like you're bringing in a lot of things here. Like a lot of things are happening within these 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I don't know. I just didn't really enjoy the actual film, but the Chadwick Boseman tribute, at the beginning of the film, was quite beautiful when they're in Wakanda and they're doing kind of the funeral essentially. Very cool, right? And then towards the end of the movie, you get a really really special moment that I won't quite spoil, just because it's still pretty new and I want people to see it. You got to see it for yourself, right? It was pretty special though. That the last 10 minutes or so of the film really tugs at the heartstrings. And if you're a Chadwick Boseman fan, like most people with a fucking pulse are, you were probably moved by that, probably stirred up by that, and I definitely was, and I was crying a little bit, and the guy's a fucking legend. He's cemented himself. After just 42 years of life, he has cemented himself as like one of our best, most talented, most charismatic actors that we had to offer, right? And any chance you get to kind of shine a spotlight on him and his work, it's gonna be cool, And I'm glad I got to see it. Got to see it with my wife and her mother. Um, Brown, my wife, her brother was there with us too, and then one of their cousins. So we all had a good time, but we were all kind of like confused by the actual movie itself, just kind of like, oh, this here's this Namor guy who's like basically from Atlantis. If you read comics, you know that he's like one of the OGs. If you don't read comics like myself, you're kind of like, what? you know, I know those things because I have comic book friends, and I have an older brother who loves this stuff. And he was like, oh yeah, Namor is like this legend. He's like one of the first three actual Marvel characters in existence, and he means a lot. So like, you got to take him really seriously. And I just wasn't totally sold, by the actual movie itself and the passing of the torch to Shuri, right, as Black Panther. All that stuff was just, I don't know, just didn't quite get me. And I'm not really sure where you're at with the movie now, but I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. Decent, worth the watch, but not great.
Well, I gave it an 8. I was very moved by the tribute. I felt like this film gave Chadwick Boseman's fans an opportunity to say goodbye
Yeah,
properly, which I appreciated. I thought that was very well done. I think the film was overstuffed. I think it had a lot to live up to. I mentioned in my review, there's few films in history that had the weight that this film had on its shoulders. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
it had to pay tribute to Chadwick Boseman. It had to follow up one of the biggest films of all time. It had to end Phase 4. It had to kind of subtly set up Phase 5. Like, and it had to bring Namor into this whole thing. So, like,
it's a lot. It's a
it is
lot.
it's a lot. This could have been 2 or 3 movies. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I think Namor's a guy who needs more. He's a
yeah.
big character. He's Marvel's first mutant. He's the king of, well, it's not Atlantis in this world. I also appreciated the Latin representation. I thought that was well done, bringing kind
For
of,
sure. It's
yeah,
about damn time.
bringing kind of like Aztec culture into this. I thought was really badass, really cool. Tena Huerta fucking killed it. He was intimidating
Yeah,
as shit as Namor. I was very impressed with him. Um, But yeah, like I felt Ironheart, the Riri was like in a
Yeah,
different movie.
yeah, yeah. That I like don't have a problem with that actress or anything, but I was like, I kind of felt bad for her. I heard someone talking about this movie earlier today, and they were like, just the comparing it to the first one, right? The first Black Panther is like it's in Wakanda. Like you are like you know where you are. You have a very good sense of space.
Yeah,
This movie has the underwater, what is it called? Telecon? Like it
yeah.
has the underwater city, which to me looked pretty fucking cool and had some great stuff. Like you said, the Latino kind of representation was it's past due, so that was cool. Uh, the stuff in Wakanda is neat, right? But then there's like a scene in fucking a dorm room and like at NYU or is it MIT? Like you're just kind of like, man, there's a lot of different like spaces in this movie
Well,
where you kind of feel a little lost.
I feel like prior to Boseman's death and what this film was supposed to be before he passed, Ironheart is going to be a Disney Plus series next year. So they had to set her up. And she feels like a relic from the first draft. Like when they had to rewrite the film to accommodate real life, they left her in and just didn't rework her into the narrative. She's just kind of there.
Yeah, yeah,
It sucks. It's a disservice because she's a really neat character. And I hope the series does her proper because the movie really didn't. She got it. Also, Martin Freeman does not need to be here at all. He serves no purpose in this film.
yeah. At one point, we're like in his kitchen for like 5 minutes with him and Julia Louis Dreyfus, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, get me out of here. Take me back to like one of the cool places.
Yeah. So, I Phase 4 has had this problem consistently since Black Widow. It's been, apart from No Way Home, every film has been, and Shang-Chi, that was really cool. But everything else has been kind of just, oh, that was neat, but was it really? And did it really have a point? Like all the series, Thor, Love and Thunder, Black Widow, Eternals, they all kind of just exist. And I don't feel I'm gonna go back to them. I don't think anybody's like labeled them as their favorite. And
Mm.
I don't think Wakanda Forever is quite with them, but it's like middle ground. Like it's not as bad as the rest of it, but it's not as good as No Way Home or Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I agree with that, and I do think I think its greatest attribute is like you said is like it gave people a chance to like properly mourn Chadwick Boseman and like over 2 years later, like that's really wild, right? That like it just stuff like that stings, and so it was cool to kind of be a part of that in the theater where you could like you could feel the gasp of like oof, like holy shit, he's gone, like
Yeah.
he's gone, and we as a society like we have to move on. Like that's like that's part of life.
Yeah. And my personal policy is I can't hate on a movie that made me cry. Regardless of the situation, if a
That's
movie
fair.
elicits emotion from me, I gotta give it props. And this
Give
movie,
it, yeah, 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 yeah. The way I see it is Chadwick Boseman made me cry, and the movie was fine. Movie was fine. I definitely didn't dislike it, or I wasn't not entertained. I just like you said, it's just kind of feels a little bit run of the mill. Feels a little bit kind of like, oh, great, this phase 4 thing. Let's move on.
it feels, this is gonna sound terrible, but it's got a similar vibe to The Office when Steve Carell left.
That that's pretty good. Never
Like
thought about that.
everyone's here, but it's missing something, and we all know what it is. And it's just
Yeah,
unfortunate that things had to go that way. Obviously nobody wished that, but it is what it is.
yeah. Well, something I want to do, not just for a character as cool as Black Panther and an actor as cool as Chadwick Boseman. I want to kind of honor a lot of the people that put in time with those 23 movies from Iron Man to Far From Home, right? It's like the 23 That's the run. That's the movies that, for the rest of time. For the rest of time, it's going to be one of the most important runs in any franchise history, probably the most important and most acclaimed slash financially just fucking reliable, just reliable as hell for 11 years from 2008 to 2019. A lot of good movies, a lot of great characters, a lot of really really amazing performers inside of these movies, right? So before we do like an in-game kind of discussion and look briefly at the 92nd Academy Awards for the fourth time this year, uh, I do want to do something kind of special and unique for the MCU. It's something I've thought about for a long time about doing on this show, and I know you're obviously more than down. You're the guy to bring on to this. So we've had this in the back of our heads, kind of rumbling about for really since this movie came out, since Endgame came out. It was like, oh, like we got to find a way to honor all of these movies on the same podcast. So for me, the best way to do that is to make a Hall of Fame, very similar to what we did for the Pixar characters when we did Coco. That was a few months back now. Sometime in the spring, we covered Coco and we talked about all the characters that like mean the most to us out of all those movies, right? So we're gonna do something similar here. So there's 23 movies. I figure we should get pretty gritty with it. Let's cut it at 20.
Ooh.
You could go to like 40 here pretty easily. There's so many cool side characters, but I think cutting it at 20 gives it. I want to give it like an exclusivity to it, where if you make this, you mean a lot to Connor and I as Marvel fans. So what I want to do here is go back and forth. I'll pick one. We'll talk about it. Should they be in? You bring up one, state your case. I'll give my 2 cents about that person. We'll keep going until we have to make serious cuts. Um, Obviously, there's some heavy hitters that we're both going to want on there. That's going to be pretty easy. So I will go ahead and start that by saying, let's put T'Challa in. Let's get Black Panther in this Hall of Fame. He wowed everybody in Civil War, right? That's when you're like, oh man, like they're fucking doing this. They're bringing Black Panther into it. And then 2 years later, he gets his own movie, right? And the events that follow in Black Panther 2018 are like directly after Civil War. And so it's like a really cool arc for him, like where he becomes the king of Wakanda, but then gets challenged by this ultimate badass and Killmonger. And they have kind of like that's one of my favorite things about the first Black Panther is the stakes between basically two kings going toe to toe is something that is kind of unparalleled in the MCU. Is these two fucking badasses fighting each other for the throne? And I mean, Chadwick Boseman's the fucking man. He is to me, one of the most talented people that has worked in the MCU. He's like there. I think there's a list of 5 or so actors who are like, holy shit, like what they've done outside the MCU is so unique and so special. And Chadwick, like he was the biopic king. Like he was so good at playing people, and so like had this charisma that just no one else really had within his generation of actors. So I think the first guy we should put down is T'Challa.
No arguments here. Yeah. Black Panther has always been such a cool character. From his inception in the comics, he was, created in the 60s in the midst of the civil rights movement. There were writers like leaders in the Marvel comics who thought the character was too offensive or too fiery. And so I remember somebody giving the writers the note, like, there needs to be more white people in this comic. And so the very next issue was Black Panther fighting the Klan, which I just love. And yeah, since then the character, came into his own, and the movie was one of the most successful films of all time, one of the billion-dollar grossers. It changed the game. It gave people an icon to get behind. It was an incredibly powerful movie, and it might not have been that way had Boseman not brought such a great charisma to the character.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
Without him, it feels a little empty.
Yeah, 100%. Right. It's like there's a hole there's a hole that like cannot be filled. Like you can't try to replace that. So yeah, he's to me one of the first names that comes to my mind when I think of Marvel Cinematic Universe Hall of Fame. So let's hear who's like your first ballot guy or woman.
Well, I figure, you know what? Let's keep it in Civil War and let's bring Spider-Man into this one.
Okay, Tom Holland.
Yes, because we can't count No Way Home, but the other two are MCU canon. Thank you, John Watts. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, and he's great. He's great in Infinity War, and then towards the end of Endgame, like he brings the heat.
yeah, Tom Holland does such a great job playing a naive new Spider-Man who just wants to, balance his high school life with being an Avenger and can't quite do it. Um, his introduction in Civil War, like when Tony Stark's just like, I know a guy, and you just see Queens on the screen, and every Spider-Man fan's like, oh shit, here he is, here he comes. That was such a great memory. Just all the red tape that Marvel had to go through with Sony to even make that happen, and how they managed to hold on to him and give Tom Holland Spider-Man such a great arc from Civil War to Homecoming to No Way, or from the Far From Home to the Infinity War Endgame No Way Home arc. It's all very cohesive and really kind of leads up to him becoming the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And that was just done so fucking well. He's got maybe the best arc in the entire MCU. Except maybe Thor, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So Spider-Man is he belongs here.
yeah. No arguments here. I think he's a surefire Hall of Famer, and that's saying a lot. With probably his biggest, well, not probably his biggest and best performance being from just like about a year ago now, in a movie that doesn't really is not a part of the first 23 films. So like he's that good. Man, in Civil War, he's so necessary for young fans to be kind of watching themselves, like that. We talk about representation amongst ethnicity. I think age is really really important to see kind of a young kind of nerdy guy fighting with the world's biggest badasses. Like that matters. That matters if you're like 12, 13 years old and you see kind of yourself amongst these freaks, they're like fighting for the world, fighting for fucking infinity stones, like that matters.
Yeah. And remember back in 2016, a lot of people were kind of, done with Spider-Man. I mean, you had
Oh yeah.
you had Tobey Maguire's run, which didn't end on the best of terms. You had Andrew Garfield's run, which didn't end on the best of terms. And this is our third Spider-Man. Everyone was like, really? Again? We're going to do this again? And then we
Yeah.
got him. Everyone was like, okay, I'm listening.
Yeah. It was because it was Amazing Spider-Man. Those two movies that Garfield does. He didn't even get to finish. People were done with those movies before they even begun. And so yeah, Civil War is just 2 years after the second Amazing Spider-Man, and people were kind of pissed. I remember that for sure. I remember seeing Civil War in theaters, and I went with some people who were like, "Oh, here we go again." And I was like, "What's the big deal? Like, Spider-Man rules. You want him to be in the mix here. And I'm glad they took that chance on Tommy.
My favorite thing about No Way Home is how everyone kind of went back to Toby and Andrew's run and were like, you know what? We like it again. We're good. Like they're good. Like everyone got on board with that. And now they're all celebrated as just Spider-Man. And I love that so much.
Yeah, I always, I mean, good God, I fucking, love the first two Sam Raimi movies, right? That's not news to anyone. I've always thought those two Andrew Garfield ones, they're fine. I think they're fine. I don't have a problem with them. I I love him. To me, he's pretty easily the best actor to play Spider-Man. Like as an actor, as like a person who can do multiple things, whether it be on stage or on screen. This is a Brit who comes in and is just brilliant and set the tone for a Tom Holland to come in and do the same thing.
I'm gonna give you that. Yeah, Andrew Garfield is an amazing actor, very talented, very humble, and his first, The Amazing Spider-Man, his first film, pretty good. I mean, I've seen it a few times now. I've gotten on board. I think everyone was just unfairly comparing it to Tobey's films. Or like, it's not him, so I don't want it. And then admittedly, his second film does have problems. That one's just
Oh
bloated.
yeah, it is. It's one of those that's trying to fit a lot into a 2 hour movie. Just doesn't quite work. And goddamn, they just did Jamie Foxx so dirty. Like they
True.
just
He got some redemption. Garfield got some closure. I'm telling you, man, No Way Home saved everything.
yeah. Jamie Foxx got to be Jamie Foxx in the new one.
Yeah, he
Like,
got to
cool.
finally kick some ass as Electro, and I fucking loved him.
Yeah, shocking. Let a really charismatic, amazing person and actor play a fun character. God forbid, like, yeah, he was great. So yeah, I'm with you. I think Spider-Man. He was definitely one of the first few names I had as well. So it's a good pick. So we have T'Challa and Spider-Man so far. Let's see. Let's just go ahead and take down one of the giants. Robert Downey Jr.
Mm.
Iron Man just probably has not probably he does have the biggest and most important run throughout all these 23 movies. He's the beginning and he's the end. His performance in Endgame is second to none. He's lights out. He does a lot of little things in these movies that keep them afloat, get you from point A to point B without it ever being boring. I'm not always crazy about the like little quick one-liners in these movies, but that's how comics are. That's how comics move. That's ultimately how a lot of these characters talk, is quick-witted, ba 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 ba. That's just how it is. And he is the best at it. Like Robert Downey Jr. is the best at kind of um, calling this evil motherfucker who's like trying to take down New York City, like, go home, Squidward. Like he's the best at that. And he also doesn't have the physique of a lot of these guys, right? You compare him to a Chris Hemsworth or Chris Evans. But for whatever reason, I'm like his stature in these movies, it never I'm never phased by his stature. I'm always like, God, that guy's fucking huge. He's amazing. He's fucking Iron Man. They're like little boy wonder that you have when you watch these movies. And yeah, his death is just brutality. It's just so sad. It's one of the most sad but rewarding moments of any of these movies is when you get to see like the holographic version of him talking to his daughter, and he says, "I love you 3000," and you're like, "Oh my god, I just came unglued." And he's just so important. I think my favorite moment of his though is in Endgame when they lock eyes, him and Doctor Strange, and he's like, "Please tell me this is the one. This is the one time out of those billions of times that this different scenarios of this coming out." And Doctor Strange is like, "If I tell you, it won't happen that way." And that's when he's like, "I'm gonna have to fucking do this thing myself." Because who the fuck else is gonna do this? Like it ain't gonna be Fat Thor doing this shit. I'm gonna put on the fucking stones and I'm gonna do this thing because I'm fucking Iron Man. It started with me. We don't have Endgame if we don't have 2008, Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. getting down with the vision and making it happen. He probably should be the first name on the Hall of Fame.
He is 100%. It's the groundwork, the foundation laid by Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau built everything. The entire MCU is owed to that movie. The little movie that could, the movie that went up against The Dark Knight and made a profit that was enough for Paramount to say, all right, let's do it again.
Yeah, let's try that one more time.
And not to, like at the time, like people forget that Robert Downey Jr. used to be the biggest box office risk in Hollywood. In 2008, nobody wanted him. Paramount was pushing for Tom Cruise. They were really pushing for Tom Cruise. It was Jon Favreau who put his foot down and said, "I'm not doing this without Robert Downey Jr." And the rest is history. I mean, he, fresh out of rehab and prison after getting busted with a shit ton of drugs and just having a complete like decade long meltdown, and
Yeah.
he gets clean and becomes the biggest actor in Hollywood. I mean, does that happen to anybody else but Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then, he just keeps doing it. His arc from the genius billionaire playboy philanthropist who doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself to sacrificing himself to save the entire universe. It's so earned. Every moment feels like it's reinforcing a previous version of himself. It all feels genuine and a well-told story. And Robert
Yeah.
Downey Jr. never phones it in. In every film he appears in as Iron Man, he's giving it his all. And Endgame is his finest hour.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the man. He's the fucking man. I love the moment he has with his dad when they're time traveling and Howard Potts. Yeah, it's just great. Just really, really, really good. Tony Stark is an all time character for these this superhero genre. A lot of people owe a lot to him in that movie.
Somebody made the good, like a pretty obvious, but a cool when you think about it comparison between him and Thanos in these movies. And it's in Infinity War, Thanos sacrifices his daughter to get to create a world that he wants. And in Endgame, Tony Stark sacrifices himself for a better world for his daughter.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. It's obvious when you look at it, but when you say it like that, it's like, God damn, who was writing this shit? These guys are good.
Yeah. I miss those days. All right. I love it. So yeah, obviously there's no so far we're both on the same page here. Who's your next person?
Let's put a villain in the Hall of Fame. How about that?
Yes.
So obviously, Thanos is the big bad of the MCU, like gonna be hard to top. But before there was Thanos, there was Loki.
Yeah, Loki. Let's go.
Loki first appeared in 2011's Thor, played by a pretty unknown British actor named Tom Hiddleston, who quickly became everybody's favorite British actor. Loki kept popping up. He kept showing up, the god of mischief, kind of flip-flopping whenever it would serve him best. And my favorite bit of Loki is in Infinity War, where he sacrifices himself to try to save his brother, and it's genuine. When he refers to himself as Odin's son, I lose it every time. It's like that's him telling his brother, like, I'm on your side, and that's not going to change. Like, we're brothers. We are Odin's sons. It's like, oh, dude, after everything Loki's been through and, learning he's a frost giant and resenting his father and trying to steal Asgard's throne and aligning with Thanos and losing that and just everything, to have that moment of clarity where he's like, I know where I stand. Oh, buddy.
Yeah. Epic.
And then in Avengers, he's a legitimate threat. He shows up in that portal. He destroys S.H.I.E.L.D.'s base. He takes over Hawkeye, and he almost destroys the city. And he brings the Avengers together. So he's got a big role in this whole thing. And now, if you've seen his show, it's probably the best of these, subpar Disney Plus shows. But he was great.
Yeah, it's my favorite of those shows for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to season 2 because we're getting more Kang.
There you go. Jonathan Majors, baby.
Oh, he's become like my favorite fucking actor. I'm looking forward to everything he's in. I can't wait for Creed 3. Like, goddamn, man, he's the best.
Yeah, he's exploded, and I'm cool with it.
Yeah, totally cool. But yeah, Loki. I love a good villain to hero redemption arc. That's like one of my favorite versions of a story ever told. I got another person in here who's going to be my next pick probably, who has a similar trajectory. But yeah, Loki, Tom Hiddleston's performance was great. The character's so well written, and I just love his back and forth with Chris Hemsworth because he genuinely like loves his brother. Thor just thinks he's such a fucking asshole. He's like, I love you, but I don't like you at all.
Yeah, you're a dick.
Yeah, but it's great. Like he'll do anything for his brother, but he knows he's going to get stabbed in the back for
it. This is I like this pick a lot. Definitely was on my list. This is one of the actors that, like you said, wasn't very known, and like this propelled him, and he hasn't really let us down. Like when he does smaller things, he's really good. He's usually the standout. Uh, and the TV show, obviously, the success of the TV shows is because of everything before it. And you make something really good, people are gonna continue to want more of that. It's like a drug. And like he legitimately delivered through those whatever 6 episodes or whatever it is. He delivered. He was awesome. His charisma is incredible. And I kind of felt bored a lot during those shows. But with Loki, I was like, at least I'm watching that guy. He's fun. He's fun to watch.
That's true. I do also like the actors who have kind of been discovered through the MCU. Like there's the heavy
That's
hitters,
him.
like
That's him.
Robert Downey Jr. and fucking Robert Redford and people. But I still can't believe he's here. But we'll get to
it's
that.
insane. Yeah. Well, I like forget. I forget every time. I'm like, that's fucking Robert Redford. Like, is Dustin Hoffman gonna pop up at some point? Like,
maybe. I don't know. If Paul Newman was alive, he'd be here.
yeah. Jesus Christ.
But yeah, Tom Hiddleston's one of those guys who got to have a pretty awesome career because of this. I mean, he did a movie a few years ago where he played Hank Williams. I got to see that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He is great. He's a quality actor. So yeah, Loki deserves to be in. He's got one of the coolest scenes in Infinity War, of course, at the beginning, like you alluded to. It's a brilliant moment. His death is second to none.
A brilliant way to immediately tell us that Thanos is a legitimate, scary threat by having him kill the previous legitimate, scary threat in a very gruesome way.
Without flinching. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about Thanos is the classic, especially in big blockbuster movies. They'll have the bad guy with the gun like pointing it at them, and then they say a bunch of shit, and then they die, or like someone gets to him. Thanos just does it. He just kills and conquers.
Well, Thanos, what I love about him is he monologues during the kill, like while he's doing it, not before, not after. Mid murder, he's telling you what he's going to do after you close your eyes.
Yeah,
that's some cold shit.
I'm sure we're going to talk about him soon. My next pick. So you got Loki. My next pick. Oh, let's get a woman in there. Scarlet Witch.
Ooh.
One of the most powerful motherfuckers in the entire run. I like, of course, Elizabeth Olsen. I like what she does with the character. I watched WandaVision, thought it was all right, thought it was decent, but I'm not gonna I'm not clamoring to go back to the show. But she is very fun to watch. Catherine Hahn is great in that show as well. But Scarlet Witch, her kind of demeanor and everything about her is so unique. It's so different compared to most of the Avengers. I like that they touch on a lot of the kind of mental health stuff with her. I like that they touch on a lot of things that are kind of underneath the surface, and they kind of bring it to light with her character. She's probably the coolest looking when she's fighting. Like it just looks so fucking awesome, and it's kind of a petite, small woman playing this character, right? Who just has the fucking fury like behind her, and like the red eyes, the red fucking her hands when she's ready to fight. It's just really impressive what they're able to pull off visually with her character. And Elizabeth Olsen does a great job of selling the dramatic scenes. I believe when she cries cries out for Vision dying, like you really feel it. You really feel where she's coming from. So she's always been kind of my favorite female character throughout all these movies. I've always connected with her a lot, and I think she deserves a spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Scarlet Witch has always been a very complex character, a very powerful, like so powerful, it's almost impossible to film. But
yeah.
WandaVision and then Doctor Strange 2 came pretty damn close. Her introduction in the post credits of Winter Soldier, where we see her and Quicksilver in Hydra lab being experimented on, and then in Age of Ultron, we meet them as bad guys working for Ultron because he's fucking with them over, who the real hero is here. And I like that they have that awakening immediately of like, oh, he's killing innocent people. We shouldn't be working for this guy.
Yeah.
And I love the pep talk that Hawkeye gives her, where he's like, "Look, we're fighting robots. I have a bow and arrow. You're a witch. This doesn't make any damn sense. But if you walk out there, you're one of us. So pick a side." It's like that's one of my favorite moments where he's like telling this all powerful witch, like, "Get your shit together."
So awesome.
Yeah.
Jeremy Renner's underrated, dude. Jeremy Renner never gets his props.
He doesn't. Even in his own damn show, he didn't get props.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, fuck, man. Yeah, Hawkeye's. Yeah, he's a fascinating character, and yeah, I love Jeremy Renner. I like Jeremy Renner's moments with Scarlet Witch, and I love his moments with Black Widow. Like he's got like a cool older brother type thing going on with both of them.
He's like a mentor to Scarlet Witch. He's the template that she learns how to be an Avenger through, which is cool. You know, it's not Iron Man or Captain America. It's the dude with the bow and arrow with a heart of gold. Like that's great.
It's neat. Yeah.
And then, of course, her relationship with Vision and how that all goes down in Infinity War, and you get that moment where you learn that she is the most powerful Avenger, where she's like destroying an Infinity Stone with one hand that's attached to the man she loves, who she's also killing, and then holding back a 5 out of 6 stone powered Thanos with the other hand while she's having an emotional breakdown. Like, wow, that's some power.
Yeah, she's the biggest badass. Yeah.
And then in Endgame, she's the one who comes the closest to ripping Thanos in half before that battle's over, which is pretty badass. When he just like, I love that moment. You know, you took everything from me, and he's like, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, yeah.
And as she's destroying him, he's just thinking, what the hell did I do to this woman?
Yeah, she's really coming after me. God damn.
Yeah. Good pick. She's a great character. Might have been, you know, I'm sure to a lot of people in Doctor Strange 2, she got a little ruined by becoming a cold-blooded murderer who ripped Mr. Fantastic into fucking taffy.
That was great.
It was great. You know, she fucked the Illuminati up, man. Like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. They like did that fan service thing, and she was like, fuck you. Yeah.
What do you think was scarier? Like twisting Mr. Fantastic apart or making Black Bolt blow up his own head?
I like the twisting was a cool effect for sure. Never seen that before.
The Black Bolt thing freaked me out. That felt very Sam Raimi. That felt right out of Evil Dead.
Very, very vicious. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people shit on Doctor Strange too. I was entertained.
I was probably, of all the, you know, past like year and a half, if you take away Spider-Man, I was probably most entertained by that one, but I still was just kind of like, what are we doing? I was a little confused, but I'm like that a lot because I'm not these movies really with any movie. I'm like, I got to read more. I got to figure out more about it. And I get really confused because there's so much information. If you really add it all together, you're like, good God, there's a lot of content, you know, and you add these TV shows and I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. I liked it better when it was just movies.
Yeah, I get it. You know, I'm doing what I think is best for me, which is keep up with the content because I don't want to, you know, 6 films down the road, I don't want to get lost because I didn't watch season 2 of like whatever the fuck. That's just like, this is such an intricate puzzle and I put in this amount of time already, like I might as well see this through.
I see. I totally get that. I think I've given up on the TV shows. I didn't watch Moon Knight. I was like, all right,
yeah, you didn't
and that's got Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac, two of my favorites. I just was like, I don't get it. I don't know what this is or what's going on. So
dude, I knew the character. I watched the show. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So
yeah, sad stuff. All right, so we have 5 so far. What's the next person that should be in here?
Hulk smash.
All right, Mark Ruffalo.
Yes. Now, I mean, if you want to get technical, we do have 2 Hulks here, but we're not getting technical.
Edward?
I don't know why they went with him in the first place. Like, did they not know that Edward Norton was not a team player who's not going to commit to like 15 movies?
Yeah, he's got other shit he wants to do. Like, you really think he wants to do this? Mark Ruffalo seems like a team player.
Oh my God. He has been just happy to be here. I don't even think he knows he's famous. Like the way he talks, he's always like stunned to see other famous people. Like he's not among them. It's weird, but I love it. I love him for it.
I like that about him. Yeah, I like that. I like that we already have. Recently I watched Zodiac, right? And we already have two people from that movie. It's RDJ and Mark Ruffalo. So I'm happy.
If we end up with an extra spot, we might just get a hat trick on that.
We very well could.
But yeah, Mark Ruffalo, from the second we met him in the Avengers, I was like, okay, he's going to be a good Bruce. You just, the way he holds himself, the way he just has this kind of awkward but secretly powerful vibe about him. And I love the Hulk's journey from mindless monster to kind of uniting his brain and power and just becoming a whole person. I love it. I love the way the MCU has done the Hulk, especially since doing it was so difficult because of the rights issues where they couldn't do a Hulk movie the way they wanted to, because like Universal owns the rights to a Hulk movie. Or I guess they did. I think recently that got cleared up.
Yeah, but it was like too late. I remember I looked that up because I was like, why didn't Mark Ruffalo get his own movie? And it's like, oh yeah, the whole rights thing with these huge franchises gets really really dicey, and that's why it was so cool that we got the Spider-Man inclusion that we have now. But yeah, with Hulk, I think it was like too far gone. It's like, look, he's already been in a bunch of these. Like Mark Ruffalo, at this point, we know who he is. We know what kind of a Bruce Banner he is. We don't really need a 2-hour movie to do that. But I do think Mark Ruffalo is one of the most talented people, and has done so much cool shit in his personal career outside of the MCU. He just brings a different gravitas, a different team player aspect to it, and is so good at supporting these huge egos, these the Hemsworth, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., these massive kind of like screen dominating people. Ruffalo is always the best at kind of bringing them together as an actor. So yeah, I think he's great. I love in Endgame, like you said, he gets when if you watch it with subtitles, it literally says every time he talks, it says "Smart Hulk." It's great.
I think he's a little irritating as Smart Hulk. He's like almost too arrogant. It's like, look what I
Oh
did.
yeah, he's like I'm sexy. Yeah, I'm a giant green guy, and I still have the brains. Yeah.
Like when he yells at the kids, "Dab!" It's like, oh my god.
Yeah,
But
fucking cringe.
I love in Infinity War when Thanos lays the Hulk out and Hulk is terrified and he won't come out of Banner. I love that.
I love that opening scene. No, no, let him have his fun. And he just fucking beats the shit out of Hulk. Yeah.
That's how
brilliant.
It's how we know to be afraid of Thanos. He kills Loki and he beats the shit out of the Hulk. Like right there, it's like, what are we in for?
Oh, that is, to me, it's not really close as far as openings from all these movies. The opening of Infinity War is like, whoa, like you feel like you're watching like a old war movie. You feel like you're entering the perspective of pure evil, and it's just great. It's just great stuff.
Yeah, especially once you realize he already has the Power Stone, so he's already wiped out the Nova Corps, and we don't even get to see that.
Yeah.
Shit. But yeah, Hulk. I think for a lot of people, Hulk's finest hour is Thor Ragnarok, where Hulk gets to kind of have his own time to shine outside of Banner. He's been a gladiator, and he's like, I love when he shows up in the gladiator pit, and Loki's immediately like, I got to get the hell out of here. Because he's still afraid of Hulk when he laid him out in the first Avengers.
So good. Oh man.
Seeing Hulk fight, a wolf god and just an army of zombies and Thor, like it's great. And I do think that there are big plans for the Hulk in the near future because recent projects have been loaded with Hulk. So I think that Marvel got at least some, if not all of the like major film rights back, and I think they're prepping some big Hulk project they haven't told us about yet.
That'd be great. I'd love that. That'd be something I'm on board for.
Yeah, me too. And especially since Ruffalo has found a balance, he gets to do all of his cool indie stuff and satisfy his creative stuff, and then he gets the money for being Hulk every couple years, and he seems perfectly okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't? Oh, Jesus, that's good stuff. All right. Well, we've talked about this guy too much to like we've mentioned him already like 10 times. Thanos. Let's get him off the board. Let's put him
Oh,
in.
here we go.
I mean, yeah, we've already discussed like why he's so awesome. So I'll say Josh Brolin. God bless you. You're an American treasure at this point. To me, one of the most underrated actors. One of the guys who seemingly goes under the radar no matter what he does, no matter like what amazing movie or amazing performance he gives. He just does not get the credit he deserves. And his work as Thanos, just even if he wasn't, in this suit doing all the kind of legwork to do the movements, just his voice is it's astonishing. It's astonishing how when Thanos goes into his philosophy, you fucking listen. You're not just scared. You like really listen. Like this guy might be right. like, like he might be onto something here, which is why it's such a compelling villain. You get this a lot from like Killmonger as well, right? In Black Panther, you get this kind of compelling case for I get what they're doing. Would I do that? No, I don't have that in me to kill billions of people. But man, I kind of understand what he's saying. I kind of get it. I kind of get that wiping out a bunch of people so that we can live a more, socialist lifestyle. I kind of understand where he's coming from. The way he's doing it, pretty rough. It's pure genocide. But man, he's on to something.
I read a really cool theory about why it took Thanos so long to get started on his Infinity War. I mean, in his Infinity Stone quest in the MCU. There were only three beings in the universe that could stop him: Odin, the Ancient One, and Ego. And they all, like, by the time he got started, they were all dead. So he was just waiting for the more powerful people to die, and now he had an opening. So it took him like a day and a half. But
Crazy.
Thanos, I think, is maybe the greatest CGI character ever put to film. The way this
Yeah.
guy is animated, he doesn't feel like an animated character. It's done so well, you feel like he really is there. In both movies, which is amazing. His he's beyond intimidating. The way he talks, he never has like this maniacal moment of like, ha, I'm so evil. It's a crusade, and he is dedicated to it, and he's been
Yeah.
dedicated to it. And you get the vibe that like, he doesn't care what happens to him. He just needs to do this. And I mean, he sacrifices his own daughter for this. He lets all his, trusted children, so to speak, die for it. He dies for it. Like he doesn't care. It's about the work. And I love like Infinity War Thanos is such a complex, interesting character who in the What If cartoon does get talked out of it and becomes a Ravager, which I thought was great. Like in the episode where like Black Panther gets abducted by Yondu instead of Star-Lord and he becomes Star-Lord, T'Challa, he just talked to Thanos and talked him out of his crusade. And Thanos is like, you know what? There is another way. And he becomes a Ravager and he works for T'Challa. And
It's
it's
amazing.
hilarious. So like just with a good conversation, I feel like, if Thanos has another option, he will take it. But in his eyes, he needs to gather the 6 Infinity Stones and wipe out all life in the universe. It's the only way. It's fucking crazy. But you've got like a relatively, I mean, powerful but relatively reasonable Thanos in Infinity War. And then in Endgame, you've got a straight up genocidal, I'm gonna kill everything Thanos, who's not yet learned what future Thanos has learned about life and death. He is just all about death. And I love that too. Like he's scary in Endgame because you as close as he comes to snapping his fingers in Endgame, every time I see that scene, I always get fucking chills. I'm like, that was so close. If Captain Marvel hadn't gotten there right at that moment, it would all be over. Every time I watch that, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck. Fuck. Fuck.
Yeah. But Brolin's performance is amazing. He is so good as Thanos that every time I hear his voice, I can't hear anything but Thanos. I
Yeah,
he
yeah.
did a he did a Hot Ones episode not long ago, and I just picture Thanos eating hot wings, talking about his career.
Good. Sounds great.
Oh, I can
Talking
hear
about
it.
his talking Thanos. It's cool to picture not Brolin talking about his career, but Thanos being like, "Yeah, that planet was easy. I just fucked them all up. You know, I just it took no work. You know." And the guy hosting Hot Ones is like, "Now, we're gonna move to the hotter wing. And how was it? You know, how was your time in Vormir? You know,
I'm just picturing Thanos being like, "Oh, that's real spicy." Like he's getting taken over by
yeah,
the wings.
oof, yeah, Jesus." I haven't felt this kind of spice since I got the reality stone. Yeah. God. Oh, yeah. Josh Brolin is the man. So, yeah, we talked about him a bunch already. We got
Yeah.
to put him in.
He's the MCU's big bad. He's the big bad of the Infinity Saga. He was what it was all leading up to. The payoff was amazing. It felt earned. His send off is great. There's this possibility he might not be gone because when you get snapped, you don't die. You just go to another place. And the movie never really
Yep.
touched on that, but I feel like that might come back. Thanos is a popular character. They might need his help taking down Kang. That would be sweet.
Oh, man. Yeah. Anything for Josh Brolin to come back. I'm in.
Yeah. So he's the man. Yeah, going to be hard to top. Jonathan Majors, you got big shoes to fill.
Yes, he does. I believe. I believe. All right. What's your next one? We've got 7 down now.
Awesome. I'm gonna go with the daughter of Thanos, Nebula.
Ooh, I like that pick. Okay. You're
This
taking off
character,
you're taking off for me, I have like a list of 30 characters, and I'm like, all right, they get, I have some lower ones, not lower in quality, but like
no.
ones that didn't get as much screen time.
Mhm.
I like this one. She does not on the screen a ton, but she's very effective.
Well, I said earlier that I love a good villain to hero redemption arc,
Oh,
and
there you
no
go.
one has a better one than Nebula. Uh, her introduction in Guardians of the Galaxy, she's a devoted follower of her father. She, works for Ronan. She's ready to assist in some Xandarian genocide. And, she just doesn't care. She's a nihilist. And then we meet her again in Guardians 2, and she has a moment of like, maybe there's hope with her sister, and she becomes a guardian. And then in Infinity War, she helps him, fight Thanos. And by the time Endgame comes around, she's a fucking Avenger.
Yeah.
And she's fully dedicated to saving lives, and she kills her older self to save her sister. Like that's literally, you know, she's just, she's throwing away who she used to be and embracing who she is. I love the visual. It's pretty on the nose, but I love it. And
Yeah.
just, Nebula, what she becomes because she's willing to hear her sister out and accept that she can be loved. It's such a great arc, and I love the way the character goes, like, just becomes such a noble person while still retaining a little bit of sadism because that's who she is.
Yeah.
So I love Karen Gillan's performance, and I love the way the character was done, and I'm looking forward to seeing how she takes on Kevin Bacon in the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, this is a good pick. I like this one a lot. She was one I had in my mind, but I didn't quite know where you were at with her. So it's good to hear that we're on the same page here as she makes the cut early. Nebula's fantastic, and Karen Gillan, I hope the best for her. I think she's really, really fun to watch, whether it be, her own self with her like beautiful, beautiful red hair, or as Nebula, this blue badass. Like she's such a cool hand-to-hand combat character.
I first saw Karen Gillan in Doctor Who, and she's gorgeous and also has a very thick Scottish accent. So props to her being able to hide that with the
Yep.
character of Nebula. Like that's fantastic. Not a lot of actors can hide a brogue that thick.
Yeah. 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 When you hear it for real, you're like, holy shit. Anyway, and when if this is kind of your introduction to Karen, when you watch her in Guardians and you see her like do an interview, you're like, what? That's the same motherfucker.
Well, I also like that when she announced she was going to be in Guardians, it was at a Comic-Con, and she revealed that she shaved her head for real for the role. And that
So
was like, at the
cool.
time, that was like, wow, that's commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she killed
Brilliant.
it.
Yeah, she does. I love when she shoots herself. I think it's just a great bit. Like you said, maybe on the nose, but so what? It's good.
I love that she learns the value of like sportsmanship and being a teammate from Tony Stark in that brief bit they're in the ship together. Like that little paper football game is the first thing she's ever won in her life. You can see it in her eyes where she's like,
Ah,
I won and she can't believe it. And yeah, like through the Avengers, she learns humanity. And I love that. It's
yeah.
not an important part of the movies, but if you're paying attention, it's a very rewarding arc.
Well, yeah, that's the stuff. Of course, like a big arc like Iron Man coming around from Playboy to an American hero. Like those things do matter, and that's why this run of movies, because of the continuity and the commitment to those point A to point B, that's why they're good. That's why Endgame pays off so much, and that's what I'm worried they won't get back to. It's like very hard to do that twice.
Well, Endgame has a reference or payoff to every single film that came before it. All 21 MCU films have a little something in Endgame to celebrate it, and that was amazing.
Yeah,
And topping
that's
that is going
special.
to be next to impossible. I have all the. I'm looking forward to Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, but I don't see how they're going to be able to top this.
Neither do I. Neither do I. I mean, I love. I want to see the effort. I want to see him try. But yeah, good luck. Good luck really capturing that again.
Yeah.
uh, okay. Let's get Steve Rogers off the board. What are we doing? Captain fucking America. This guy rules. This guy's the man. Probably probably my favorite of like the big time characters.
Yeah.
He's in a lot of these movies, and he has his own stuff. He's got you know Captain America. He's got Winter Soldier. He's got Civil War. He's in a lot of content. We see him a lot. We get very comfortable with Chris Evans playing this character. Um, what impresses me the most about Chris Evans is he became an actor. He became a goddamn actor through these movies. He was kind of like a bumbling idiot in the 2000s, doing really silly stuff, really silly stuff. Now he's a fucking actor, and he appears in movies like Snowpiercer, right? Knives Out, and these quality films. That's because he worked his ass off to play fucking Captain America. I wasn't sold at first. I was like, I don't know. I don't know if Chris Evans has got the juice. But goddamn, by Winter Soldier, Civil War, and you get into Endgame, he's putting in him and Robert Downey Jr. are putting in the most dramatic performances in Endgame.
Yeah.
Like Jesus, these guys, you feel the weight of it on them. When we see Captain America at the end, and he's decided to live a life of his own, and we see old man, we see the old version of him, which looks oddly like Joe Biden. uh, we we get that kind of cool payoff that we didn't know we were gonna get, where he got to go back to like be with his love, go be with the love of his life. The weight of those scenes are like he sells that shit. Just the way he crosses his arms and kind of raises his eyebrow, like Chris Evans has got the juice. I was wrong. I was proven wrong over like a 10-year period. That guy can fucking act, and I can't. I love what he's done so far. Outside of now he's done, right? He's like I'm done. I hung it up. It's over. I'm old. Get me out of here. I did my time, and now I like the decisions he's making. We're really excited to see what his 40s and 50s are like as an actor. I'm really excited. I think this guy's damn good. And Captain America. I mean, I was watching Endgame with my daughter. She's 3, almost 4. She's starting to pick up things really, really well within the movies, and Captain America is her guy. she's like, if something happens to him, like when his shield gets fucking sliced in half by Thanos, she's like, no. And she's like, Captain America, get up. She's saying Captain America out loud, and I'm trying to explain there's so many goddamn characters. That's the one that sticks with her, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. It's cool to live vicariously through your 3 year old's eyes, and imagine what's going on in their mind. And she definitely knew that Thanos was the bad guy.
I
She
hope
kept
so.
saying she kept saying villain, villain, villain. So that was great. This one's for Willow. Captain America gets the night spot.
Well, first of all, I'm glad to know that you're doing a good job teaching your daughter the difference between right and wrong. Uh,
It's not me. It's Kevin Feige.
oh, well, way to go. Good job raising a
Uh,
awesome daughter, Kevin. Good job.
yeah, you're doing well. She likes your entertainment better than the shitty jokes I have. So thanks, Kevin.
Oh, Captain America. This character could have gone so cheesy so easily. The very idea of Captain America is inherently ridiculous. You know, a
Yeah,
super roided out, good hearted all American hero, frozen in the ice, comes out 70 years later to battle injustice. Like, really? But it's done with such grace in these movies that you buy it. You know, when he comes
yeah,
out of the ice in the first movie, you feel terrible for him. You know, he had that date. Like, you feel for him. You're like, he lost everything. And yeah, seeing him kind of acclimate to life in the modern age and have to, deal with fascism from within and, ubiquitous government powers and things that aren't always, it was right and wrong in World War II, and now it's not. And seeing Cap have to kind of make those tough decisions and lose friends over it, it's great. The dedication, like what he goes through to keep Bucky alive, to make sure he can have another chance. It's a great arc. And yeah, I love seeing Cap stand up to Thanos. And like when in Endgame, when he gets his shield broken, like he's, on the ground and he gets up and he like, tightens the strap, like, I can do this all day. Like
yeah,
he's always going to stand up to the bully, even if he's the last man standing and it's an army. And that's the heroism of Captain America. Like he is the original Avenger. He's the first Avenger. That's what his movie was called. Every hero in the MCU looks up to him. He was the gold standard of hero, and that's never changed. And in his last moments, he's leading the entire MCU hero canon against Thanos. Like they all look to him to lead. Even
yeah,
people who are so much more powerful than he is. Thor is a god, and he takes orders from Captain America. it's
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. Yeah, it's a respect thing. Like who gets the line? Who gets the Avengers Assemble line? It's fucking Chris Evans. It's fucking Cap.
Yeah,
So cool.
it wasn't
And
going to be anyone
the
else.
titan yeah, exactly. The tightening of the shield is so like fucking pick yourself up by the bootstraps. Let's fucking dig in. Get a little bit dirty. Let's go harder this time. It's like it's the age old like character that we'll be telling stories about characters like this forever. It's fun because it's fucking fun to watch. It's fun to watch a guy slowly become the best version of themselves, and that's what he does, man. I love his introduction. Him and Black Widow in fucking Infinity War is the coolest shit in any of these movies. In Scotland at like the subway or like train station, so fucking sick.
I love the like the kind of unspoken respect that Cap and Black Panther have in Infinity
Mm,
War. I love that. And in Endgame, when Black Panther and Shuri and Okoye come through the portal and they just look at each other, and you see Cap like in tears, like it worked. Like he's just so happy it worked. And then everyone comes out. Oh my god, we'll get to it. But
yeah, so
yeah.
sick.
And then him passing the torch to Sam feels very earned. It feels we even get the line, "You're a good man, Sam," which from Captain America, the first one. That's why Erskine picked Steve, because he was, not a great soldier, but a good man. That's who should be
Mm,
Captain America. Again, just full circle, earned arc, man. Like they're so good at that.
yeah, it's full circles, baby. Oh, good shit, good shit. All right, well, we're almost halfway there. Who's the 10th person coming in?
Oh boy. Yeah, okay. You know what? Since we're doing Captain America, I'm gonna give it to his arch nemesis, Johann Schmidt, aka the Red
Ooh,
Skull.
I like this. I like this.
The second I heard in 2011 that Hugo Weaving had been cast as the Red Skull, I didn't care about anything else that happened in this movie. I was like, this is going to be amazing because that is exactly who I wanted. Like that doesn't always happen. Like when I think of a character and I'm like, oh, Hugo Weaving should play him, and then he fucking plays him. That doesn't happen. Uh,
Hugo Weaving should play a lot of things.
he should, but he just did the thing the Red Skull once. He didn't like the makeup, didn't care for that, so he's like, I'm not doing this again. Which I get that, but like you played Elrond like 8 times, but you won't anyway. Um,
uh,
I love him as the Red Skull. He's just this intimidating uber Nazi who wants to take over the world and reshape it in his image. Like, who better for Captain America to go up against than like a Nazi worse than Hitler?
true, true.
And then he disappears through the portal after touching the Tesseract. We don't see him again for 7 years, and then he shows up out of the blue in Infinity War. Maybe the biggest shock of the movie, apart from Thanos actually pulling it off. Like,
Yeah,
no one saw that coming.
yeah, and I love what the way he talks about like it comes with a price, you know, like what you're about to do is really tough. You're like, oh, Red Skull,
I
Hugo.
guide others to a treasure I cannot possess.
Yeah,
And
cast
that
him
was,
into the fire.
and this isn't Hugo Weaving in Infinity War and Endgame. It's Ross Marquand, who plays Aaron on The Walking Dead and is a fantastic um, impressionist. And he plays Hugo Weaving playing the Red Skull.
Correct, which is great, right?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
perfect. I couldn't tell till I saw the credits. And yeah, he's just the guide who tells people the bad news when they come to get the Soul Stone.
God,
I'm hoping we see him again now that the Soul Stone's gone, so there's no need for him to stay there. Maybe he'll come back to Earth and resume his fight against Captain America. Maybe, I don't know. I'm hoping. I really like that character. I feel like he was vastly underused in the MCU. So I'm hoping for more in the future.
yeah, that's. I had Red Skull written down, but I didn't think we'd be talking about him today just because of the sheer underuse, the lack of screen time. That's just kind of appalling. But it's also Hugo Weaving's fault for not really vibing with what was going on.
I
That
think
sucks.
I think the original plan for Winter Soldier, I got nothing to back this up, but I have a feeling. I think Robert Redford was supposed to be the Red Skull. I think that character at the end of the movie was going to like rip off a face mask and it was going to be Johann Schmidt. I think that was supposed to happen, but they couldn't get Hugo, so they had to rewrite that shit.
That would have been the coolest thing ever.
Right?
Robert Redford. Yeah, yeah, right, bitches. It's Hugo.
Suddenly Redford starts speaking in German and everyone's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah.
Ah,
Red Skull just adds to the Hugo Weaving lore, of being able to play Agent Smith and Elrond. He just is in all these franchises and always kicks ass.
I love that he doesn't really care. He just kind of like they're all just paycheck gigs to him, but he still delivers
Yeah.
100% every time. I mean, I was reading. He was talking about playing Megatron in the Transformers movies, and he said that he
Yeah.
never read a script. He never looked into the character. He just said his lines and he went home.
So awesome. What a guy. You gotta love that. Oh shit! You took a deep cut off the board here. Let's see. So we're 10 through here. Let's take a little mini break and just kind of look at where we're at. Um, we've got Black Panther, Spider Man, Iron Man, Scarlet Witch, Loki, Hulk, Thanos, Nebula, Captain America, and Red Skull. So we got 10 spots left, and we still have some big time people here. This is tough, man. This is really tough. I'm I'm gonna go with my gut here. See what you think. This doesn't mean they have to be on here. I just want to see what you think. How about putting in a non-superhero? Someone that I think brings a proper elegance to these movies and was there from the very beginning. That's Gwyneth Paltrow's Pepper Potts. What do you think about that?
I didn't have her. Um, I don't really like this character. I'm going to be totally honest.
Okay. I just wanted to know. I wanted to know.
She doesn't do much. She's just there.
She's just someone who has to deal with Tony Stark's ridiculous, ideas. And she has, of course, the really cool moment in Endgame when she's like, "I'm a part of the team." But I love Gwyneth Paltrow. I love the humanistic side of the Iron Man stories, and she's obviously a huge, huge part of that.
I despise Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh man, that's sad.
I don't think she's a very good actress, and I think she's an appalling human being. So
Oh yeah, I don't really like to get into the human being side unless they're cool.
I just if you're gonna sell exploding vagina candles and then not own up to it, I don't like you.
Exploding vagina.
Oh yeah, yeah. She was selling candles that were scented like her vagina was the scent, and then one of them exploded and blinded somebody.
Yeah, well, I want one of those. I want to know. I want to know what it can do.
I don't want to smell that. I don't want to smell.
She
that.
is a superhero. Okay,
Oh,
so I just want to throw her out there. Doesn't mean she needs to make the cut. I just kind of want to see her reaction because I have another more human person that I'd like to throw out there as well. Nick Fury.
oh, absolutely. Nick Fury belongs here. Yes.
Okay, so he makes it. You like him making the cut?
I do. Samuel L. Jackson never tried to kill anyone with an exploding candle, and I hear he's a pretty decent, good guy, and I like him as an actor. So yes.
Oh well, yeah, half of his movies kind of blow, but the other half are awesome, and that's okay.
But he's not. But he's good in them. He's good in them.
Have you seen Have you seen Snakes on a Plane?
Not yet, but I want to so bad.
Yeah, it's awesome because it's so fucking stupid. But have you seen? Have you seen?
You're going
What?
into a movie called Snakes on a Plane, and you're
Yeah,
expecting anything more than snakes on a fucking plane. That's on you.
Snakes on a Plane, stupid, but I love it. Black Snake Moan, stupid, but I love it. And Lakeview Terrace, very stupid, but I also kind of love it.
Seen Black Snake Moan, and I agree. It was a very odd movie, but he was great.
Yeah, he's always fun. Even if he's in shitty movies, it's fun.
Well, Nick Fury, like the version of Nick Fury that's in these movies, was designed to it was drawn to resemble Samuel L. Jackson. That version of the character in like 2006. So of course he's going to be the guy who plays him down the road, not fucking Hasselhoff like he did in the 90s, but Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay, so Samuel L. His Nick Fury, you think makes the top 20?
Yeah, he's the guy who built the Avengers.
Okay,
the initiative came from him. Like this was his, this was his defense against evil. And yeah, I love him in the first Avengers. Just kind of, keeping the council at bay while trying to make his guys, take a victory. And then, yeah, whenever he pops up, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to Secret Invasion specifically because we get more Nick Fury.
Okay, I like it. So no Pepper Potts, but Nick Fury, yes. Now we've got 11 down. Let's hear your next one.
I don't like to put the foot down, but I will with Gwyneth Paltrow.
That's okay. I understand. I had a feeling.
I thought the character could have been so much more, and I feel like she just didn't want to do a lot. She just wanted the paycheck.
Kind of like Hugo Weaving.
True, but at least he delivered something memorable.
And Red Skull kicks ass. So yeah, different. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's all right. I'm gonna go to Guardians of the Galaxy and give this to Yondu.
Oh yeah, love Yondu.
Yeah, always good to see Michael Rooker getting some quality work. And he's become James Gunn's kind of go-to guy over the course of his career, and I fucking love that. And this character has such an interesting back and forth. Like, in the first Guardians, he's pretty cut and dry bad guy. He's like a bounty hunter who wants the stone and is going to kill anyone who gets in his way.
Yeah.
But then we learn more about Yondu in Guardians 2, and we learn that was all a front because he had to look strong for his guys, and in reality, he loves Peter Quill like a son. And that was just so touching. Like his that line, he like he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy. Oh my god.
Yeah. But he
I
wasn't your daddy.
that whole bit from Yondu just sacrificing himself and all the way to the funeral where all the Ravagers show up. It's fucking Niagara Falls over here, man. I can't watch that scene without sobbing. It's so touching. With Cat Stevens' father and son plague. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
Oh my
Cat
god.
Stevens, baby. Good
Beautiful.
shit.
Beautiful. And yeah, Michael Rooker does such a great job with this character. When he takes down all the mutineers with the arrow in at the beginning of Guardians 2, that's so fucking satisfying. Ah, cool
Yeah.
character.
Yeah. This is a really good call. I like this one a lot. I think probably one of my favorite. I don't even want to. I don't know. I guess he's kind of. I don't want to call him a minor character, but he's one of those deep cut guys that, especially a Michael Rooker. Like if you know, Michael Rooker's put together a really, really interesting career, makes really wild choices, and I love that he goes for it. So it's cool to see him get a nice paycheck while also still getting to be really weird and out there and off the wall. And he, those Guardians, that first Guardians movie, I remember vividly when it came out, and I was just like, oh, this is different. This is is the pace of this and everything
Yeah.
is different. And thinking like, oh, what villain can match this energy? And he does such a good job of matching the energy and matching the pace and the tone of it while still bringing kind of a innate evil to it. So I respect him a lot. I think he's underrated.
I'm glad we had Michael Rooker's Yondu there because I've always felt that Guardian's villain in Ronan the Accuser was pretty bland and kind of forgettable,
Yeah.
which is a shame. But Michael Rooker is anything but bland and forgettable. He's the man, and I love whenever I get to see him.
Yeah. That's a good
He's
way of putting it.
I love him as Yondu. I love him in Slither. I love him in The Walking Dead. But to me, he will always be the guy aggressively eating the chocolate covered pretzels in Mallrats.
Oh, good call. Wait till you watch a Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and then yeah, you'll think of him as a pretty nasty guy.
Yeah, I've been putting that off because I know it's gonna fuck me up. I don't like. I'm not looking. That's not gonna be an entertaining time.
No, not necessarily, but he's great.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. All right. All right. Yondu is in. We're both on board with that. So that's 12. Man, we're getting there's not a lot of spaces left. So let me take off Thor. Let's just get him. He needs to be there. Talk about those first two Thor movies. Not for me. Just like borderline derailed me from watching these movies. During that time, I was like, do I want to go through this? Do I want to see all of these in theaters? And those movies did not help that case of me wanting to go to the theater and like be excited for these. Then you fast forward to 2017 and we get Ragnarok, and I was like, okay, this is one of the best, standalone movies from the whole MCU. And then the newest Thor, not really for me either. But what that movie did, Ragnarok, and what it did, coming out before Infinity War and before Endgame, gave me a real excitement for Thor and a real respect for Chris Hemsworth as the character. He does such a good job of the tone of his character changing rapidly. Maybe not rapidly behind the scenes, but for us as just the movies, from watching Loki die at the beginning of Infinity War with the haircut and the eye patch, and he looks like what does Drax say? He's like, it's like a pirate and angel had a kid.
Yeah, pirate had a baby with an angel. You
Yeah.
do this. This is a man.
Yeah, I love that. Beautiful, big, beautiful man. Yeah. I love that. He wakes up and he's in distress and he's ready to take down Thanos, right? And then in Endgame, he's fat, just drinking, playing video games with like losers, and has to come back around to being proper Thor and like doing his part. And Chris Hemsworth, got to give him credit. He really put in the work to become the full potential of the character. So I think Thor just has to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, absolutely. There's the big three have got to be in here. Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor are the big three of the MCU, or at least they were in this first this first saga. I think Ragnarok. What makes it work is that Thor and the Dark World were too serious. Love and Thunder was too goofy. Ragnarok is in that sweet spot.
Mm.
It's got it's got the jokes, it's got the weirdo comedy, but it's also got some very serious, powerful moments that work for the character. Love and Thunder tried, but didn't quite have that. Anyway, I always chalk Thor's like rapid change in tone from hanging out with Tony Stark and Captain America and all these humans who introduced him to like sarcasm and weird sayings and beer and shit. Like I always figured that's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, banter. Yeah.
But also like nobody loses more than Thor in these movies. I mean, over the course of this saga, he loses his parents, his best friends, his brother, his people. Like, holy shit. And it breaks him. In Endgame, like that's a broken, depressed Thor who hates himself because he feels he failed the universe. And to see him kind of come back over the course of Endgame and be a warrior again and stand up to Thanos, such a powerful moment. And again, a great arc for the character. So yeah, I think Chris Hemsworth kills it in these movies.
Yeah, he came into his own, man. Him and Chris Evans really came into their own and became men. Yeah, so cool. So yeah, Thor's got to be there. We don't have a lot of the major players left. We've knocked out the Iron Man, Thor, Cap, Spider Man. So now that we have seven spots left, we got some room here to pick some heavy hitters, but also get some more supporting type characters. So who do you got next?
I want to have the core original Avengers team in here, so I'm going to give this to Black Widow.
Yes, that was my next one. Yes. Love Black Widow.
Yeah. Not introduced in the best way. Natasha Romanoff, we first meet her when Tony Stark is ogling her and tells Pepper Potts, I want one. So not great. Not a great intro for the character. But as the films progressed, Natasha Romanoff came into her own, became a very strong character, a leader, and a character we liked. I think I credit Winter Soldier mostly with that.
Yeah,
for sure. She got a time to shine, and her, eventually she got her solo movie too late to the point where like the character had passed and it wasn't as significant as it could have been had it come out in like 2017.
Yeah.
But her sacrifice in Endgame is still insanely powerful, especially since the character showed up kind of ambiguous. You weren't really sure where she stood when we first met her. Was she Shield? Was she Hydra? Is she a Russian spy? Is she really a hero here? And then we learned, like, yes, she is. And then she gave her life to save the universe, and Hawkeye lost the only thing he had left, which is, oh, that hurts. Every time I watch that scene, it hurts.
I love that scene when she says, "Tell them yourself." It's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, I love the juxtaposition of Thanos and then Hawkeye waking up with the Soul Stone. Thanos is like, finally, I have it. And Hawkeye doesn't even give a shit. He's sobbing because he lost his best friend.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So yeah, I think
brutality.
I know, right? She does a great job with this character. Really made the character her own. Because in the comics, Black Widow is kind of a throwaway, sexy character who really like doesn't, is more the butt of jokes than a lot of them. Not in late like recent comics, but when she was first introduced, she was like a sometimes evil, sometimes heroic, like femme fatale who didn't really have a lot of agency. So the fact that Scarlett Johansson and the writers were able to turn her into a heroic character that people could look up to. I admire that.
Yeah, me too. If I'm taking my favorite, like my personal favorite performer out of all these, it's ScarJo. I love Scarlett Johansson. I'll always be so upset the way they I feel like they just did her dirty, man. Like that movie didn't even like just it wasn't even an exclusive theater movie. Like went straight to Disney Plus, unlike all of these other, you know, phase four movies that were in theaters first and then Disney Plus. Her movie was like on streaming right away. And it took away a huge part of what the box office could have done for that movie. And she deserves better. But the biggest mistake is doing it after she's dead. Like we don't the stakes matter. They matter in these movies. Even if it's, fucking CGI and green screen, it matters to the people who the audience. We don't see the green screen. We don't, we're watching a movie. And so to have her film come out after she makes the ultimate sacrifice to like basically make the movie work for Endgame, make the plan work, just it just doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel like they did Scarlett Johansson right or Black Widow, and they missed something really cool. I think she's she's the first woman who really broke into these movies. She's the first one who really was like took her place, and I always be frustrated by that, and I know she was too. I know Scarlett Johansson was fucking pissed, and rightly so.
I blame that piece of shit misogynist producer that Feige had to work with for the first like 8 years of the MCU. That's why, like, uh, who was it? I think, yeah, Thor: The Dark World was supposed to be directed by Patty Jenkins, but and she wanted the villain to be Hela, like who with Kate Blanchett eventually,
Yeah,
and that guy was like, she won't sell toys. Like nobody's gonna buy a female superhero toy. Like we don't, you can't do that. Patty Jenkins is like, well, I don't want to do the movie then. So they got Alan Taylor, and this guy kept shooting down any female centric like opportunity or idea. So I'm betting he's the reason we didn't get a Black Widow movie early on.
sad. That's so
Yeah.
sad.
Thankfully, eventually Feige was like, "Get rid of this asshole, or I walk." And Disney was like, "Oh, we want you, so that guy can get the fuck out." So
Yeah,
yeah, he's not involved anymore. Thank God.
not in the mix. Yeah, and it shows. It shows now. I mean, in Endgame, you literally have a moment where like the 12 most important women from the whole MCU are like together, and it's a really powerful moment.
It would have been cooler if any of those characters had met each other before, but yeah,
Oh yeah, they're just like, hey, you guys know how to do a formation? Let's go. Like Gamora, meet Pepper Potts. What the fuck?
it is odd. Like it doesn't feel like I get what they're trying to do. There's this, it's a cool moment, but also it's like you don't have none of these people have any reason to back any of these people up.
Yeah, yeah, and what moment is it where Okoye and Black Widow are like, you do have backup? It's like, wait, y'all met?
Yeah, and also, how fucked up is it that Black Widow doesn't get to be a part of that moment? Like
Yeah,
she was the first.
she's the one. She was number one. Oh God. All right. Well, yeah, but she deserves to be here. Glad we got her on board. Okay. Ah, shit. I'm looking at my list and I'm like, fuck, how are we gonna make these cuts? There's one other human, like straight, no superpower, no nothing, that I kind of want to put in there. I'll throw them out as well. I'll throw them out and see what you think. Thad Ross.
General Ross.
Yeah. Played by another not so great human being.
Yeah, I did not like learning about that after he died. It gave me a lot of mixed feelings about him at a time when I didn't want. I just wanted to feel sad, but no, now I'm angry.
Yeah.
General Ross, a good character. Again, very underused
Yep.
in the MCU. I feel like though they have big plans for the future, that's why they just recast the character with Harrison Ford, which could be cool.
Could be. I think William Hurt gave it like a who's that guy? Like a lot of general fans are like, who's that? Like what actor is that? He gives it kind of an anonymous feel. Whereas like big movie fans are like, that's fucking William motherfucking Hurt. Like and he goes hard with that character. He has a couple scenes where you're like, that is a fucking military dude. Like that is a guy who's been on the ground, also in the office, kind of controlling, playing puppeteer. I just think he's great. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he deserves to be in the top 20, but I'd love him.
I feel like we didn't get enough moments with him to like get to know the character beyond just evil, corporate general guy.
Yeah.
But I want to think about it. Yeah.
Okay.
There's
So
an
maybe we'll
argument.
come back around. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
come back around. Okay. All right. This one I feel like you're gonna like. Sebastian Stan's Bucky Barnes.
Yeah.
Bucky. Yeah.
Bucky deserves
Bucky's the fucking man. Has one of the most interesting kind of individual storylines, and I thought I thought very highly of him. I just thought he was like such a fucking badass at first. I was like, oh, this is a really cool character. And now Sebastian has kind of exploded as an actor. And I'm like, it's because of what he did here. It's because of the general just approval of every fan, every audience member that guy's doing his job really well in these movies. He kicks so much ass, and then he was one of my favorite parts of the TV shows, where it's just kind of like a buddy cop show almost with him and Falcon, and he's great. He's got a cool comedic kind of timing to him, but he's also really believable as a hand to hand combat guy. And him and Cap have a fun storyline. Dark, yes, at times, but really cool, really rewarding. So I think Bucky's always been one of my personal kind of favorite guys.
I thought the whole Winter Soldier story was adapted so well. It
Oh
was
yeah.
because in the comics, Captain America showed up in the comic books in the 40s, and Bucky was his Robin, his 15-year-old, oh gee Willikers, Cap, we're gonna do this kind of goofy little sidekick dude. Flash forward 30 years, and modern, 70s Captain America comics introduces this character, the Winter Soldier, who turns out to be a brainwashed Bucky. We hadn't seen him in decades, and that was a huge moment in the comics where it's like Bucky's alive and he's been brainwashed by the Russians. What?
Like
And
fuck yeah.
yeah, and they did it so well in the movie. It feels rewarding. It feels like Cap would shut everything down to save the mind of his best friend who he thought was dead, and blamed himself for it. And yeah, I love Bucky's run from loyal American soldier to brainwashed assassin to trying to find his way back. And when you learn that he killed Tony Stark's parents, it's like, oh man, that moment where Tony
that's
like, did you know? It's, oh my god! Every time it's like, oh, that'll shatter a friendship. It's yeah, Sebastian Stan does a great job. I'm glad he's stuck with this so long. I mean, he could have waved goodbye at any time. He's hot shit now, but I think he just really respects the character. He's going to be in the Thunderbolts movie.
Yeah, no, he's gonna be around. I think he, like you said, I think he respects it. I think he enjoys it, and nobody else can do it.
Yeah, exactly. I love how few recasts they've done in this whole thing.
Yeah, it's difficult to do. That's been their best attribute is casting the right people who give a shit and want to be there, Um, and that, yeah, of course, I'm sure the money's nice, but
I don't think it is.
you don't think it is? You don't think Sebastian's making a pretty penny?
No, early on, it was revealed that outside of Robert Downey Jr., these guys are not making a lot.
Oh, he probably ate up the budget, didn't he?
Oh,
Mr.
now
Hurd.
maybe they're doing fine now because he's gone.
Yeah, that's funny. Robert Downey Jr. was like, "I'll be in it, but you're gonna pay me $70 million."
Yeah, Disney's always been pretty, pretty tight with their money. They don't like paying their actors. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Unless you're Iron Man. Yeah.
unless they have to, yeah, unless you're the face of a franchise, then they'll fork it over.
Yeah, well, when he deserves it. I mean, if you put in that work and you basically started the whole thing with John Favreau, like, yeah, I mean, pay me, bitch. Otherwise, you have to recast me, and good luck with that. Who the fuck are you gonna get to recast Iron Man and take Robert Downey Jr.'s place? Like, have fun with that. Good luck getting fucking Mr. Tom Cruise. That ain't happening. You're gonna have to pay him even more.
Good point. That's great. Um,
Good
okay.
shit. 5 spots
Bucky,
left, my man. 5 spots left.
because he's such an important villain and meant so much to the film itself, what do you think of Killmonger?
Oof. I didn't. I don't know why I didn't even think about that one. But when I think about it, I think hell yeah. I mean, Michael B. Jordan, the fucking man. Love that guy. Again, to bring up Jonathan Majors, I can't believe we're going to be able to watch those two box each other. Jesus H. Yeah, Killmonger behind Thanos is the like coolest, most like you understand what they're saying. You to- More than Thanos. I'm like, yeah, I agree with Killmonger. I like totally agree with what he's trying to do. The way he goes about it, of course, is pretty vicious, but I agree with him. I agree with. Are you going to help your so-called people all over the world, or are you going to keep it for yourself? And Killmonger's like, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to share vibranium with all the black people so we can liberate everybody, not just people in Wakanda. And you're like, yeah, that's that guy. That guy's on a crusade that I can get behind. So yeah, and he's fucking sick. he's Killmonger, like his hair, the scars from all the kills that he has. It's just fucking sick. Like I love that guy. Love Michael B. Every time I watch Black Panther, I get more on board with him as Killmonger. So I think this is a good pick.
Nice. Yeah, he's such a great villain. I love Ludwig Göransson's score for Black
Dude.
Panther, and his theme for Killmonger is fucking sick.
Ah,
He's got the
that
coolest music. Just as soon as he walks into a room, you're like, oh shit, like, what's gonna happen now?
yeah, yeah, and that's like I think Ludwig, I think he's Swedish. Like he's just like, what? What does this guy have any business making this good of a score for 2 movies now for Black Panther? Like that guy's wicked talented.
Also, just because he's in fucking high demand right now, he has also done the music for The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, both of which had amazing scores. So like he is epically talented, and he's the man. Um, but yeah, Killmonger's plan is not. It's hard to argue against. He's as a history buff, like I know what happened. I know world history. I know American history. I know the real deal that you don't get taught in schools, where people are just shit on for all of history. And Killmonger has, like he's got a good point. If that, why not liberate those who are enslaved, those who are stepped on, and give them a chance? But at the same time, he's murdering innocent people for this. It's and
Yeah,
destroying the Black Panther power herb. Like it's at the end of the day, he's doing this for himself so he can be king of the world. Like that's what this is about. But his plan makes sense. It's all it reminds me a lot of Magneto and his plan.
yeah,
Mutant
yeah.
supremacy. It's like if you've been in a concentration camp, why wouldn't you want mutant supremacy? Like it makes sense. But the way you're going about it makes you a villain.
Correct. Yeah,
And yeah, Michael B. Jordan delivers a great performance. His, back and forth with Chadwick Boseman is great. When he kicks T'Challa's ass in the like king fight and throws him off the waterfall. It's nobody, everyone in the movie's like, oh shit, they weren't expecting that, and just having to crown this guy, everyone's so fucking terrified. Oh, it's great. Yeah,
yeah,
I love that character.
yeah. And he, without really spoiling, the new film, like he has a cool moment in the new one. Um, you'll see how it happens if you haven't seen it yet. You'll see how Killmonger comes back into play, but it is cool. It is a cool moment in the movie.
My favorite thing about the moment was the Creed stash because Michael B's
Yep.
busy filming something else right now.
Yes. Yeah. He's like, oh shit. Yeah. The facial hair has to stay. I'm sorry. Oh, that's good. Okay, Killmonger. I did not expect that. That wasn't really on my radar. Damn, we got 4 spots left. Let's see. All right. Well, at this point, we just got to go with our guts here. Um, no, 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 no. Let's see. Let's do Gamora. Zoe
Uh,
Saldana.
I was hoping we were going to get at least one Guardian in here.
Yeah, let's get Gamora and Nebula. Let's get the sisters on board here. Thanos
Okay.
and his daughters. Uh, man, the drama of Gamora's whole storyline is pretty brutal. She does a great job of Zoe Saldana does a great job of selling these kind of monumental moments in a person's life, realizations, and flashbacks to certain things that happened in her past with Thanos, who basically adopts her. Uh, they're tough to pull off within a movie within all of the theatrics of these movies. I think Zoe Saldana like harnesses it and like pulls it back down to reality and does a really good job of giving us like sentiment and a humanistic side of like what we would go through if we were going through this. She does a really good job of selling it, and she's also fucking fun to watch fight. She is really good in all the combat scenes. Gamora is a lot of fun to keep your eye on because it's a lot of kind of acrobatics, a lot of very fast running, kind of flexible gymnastic type movement. She's a lot of fun to watch. It's not as flying around doing crazy shit and like blasting people with lasers. She's like really doing unique movements, and I've always really liked Gamora. Always been kind of just attached to her, and she's one of my favorite women in the whole thing. So I think I wouldn't feel right if I didn't throw her name out there.
Yeah, I read somewhere that Zoe Saldana has been in more billion-dollar grossing films than any actor alive.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, because it's Avatar, Guardians 1 and 2, Infinity War, Endgame, the Star Trek movies. Like it's she knows how to pick them.
Yeah, you gotta give it to her. Give her credit for picking the right stuff to be in. Hope she got good paychecks along with those.
I I doubt it. Um, I yeah, Gamora is a great character. It's interesting what they've done to the character in the canon. We lost the Gamora we knew, and now there's like a blank slate Gamora who's out there somewhere that they're going to try to find in Guardians 3 and hopefully find a way to restore her memories. Uh, which is cool. Her relationship with Thanos is so fascinating because it's he kidnapped her, like he slaughtered her people
Yeah,
and kidnapped her and raised her like a daughter and deluded himself so much that he actually believes he loves her and that she in some way loves him too. It's enough love to sacrifice her for the Soul Stone. Um, for me, it's that moment in Infinity War when they're in the collector's collection and she thinks she's killed Thanos. And she starts sobbing because, like, he's a monster, but he's the only father she's ever known. And I love that weird, like, Stockholm syndrome reaction she has. It's so real. And then learns, oh shit, it was an illusion and I lost. But in that moment, it's very real. And she thinks, like, I did it, but I wish it didn't have to be like this. It's a great performance and a great insight into the character. And yeah, I think she's great.
fuck yeah, good shout, good point. Zoe, where do you see her going from here? Zoe Saldana.
Oh, I think she's a badass. I love her, and I hope she gets to do whatever she wants to do.
Yeah, Me too, man. I've always thought she's kind of underrated and like she's someone if I were casting a movie, she'd be someone I would cast and be like, tell her whoever's writing, hey, write something for her. She's that good.
For future Batman movies, I think she'd make a very cool either Poison Ivy or Talia al Ghul.
Oh, that would be so sick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
either.
I mean, she is built for franchise. She's got a really, really cool physique, really cool charisma, but also does dramatic scenes really well. She's like perfect for this kind of a world, this kind of phantasmic, crazy world. I think she thrives in it. Obviously, she's like you said, a part of like $4 billion movies. So, I'd love to see her in DC. I think that'd be cool if they kind of swiped her.
I'm still hoping for a Star Trek 4. I loved her as Uhura, but I don't see that happening anymore. Like Paramount kind of dropped the ball on that one.
Big time, big time. You can't let things breathe for too long these days. You got to keep people on the hook.
We'll also never announce a sequel to a franchise before you've talked to the actors involved.
Yeah,
Never do that.
Up.
You're gonna piss everybody off.
It's insane, man. It's just crazy. What the movie industry, the bullshit, the lies. Well, it's crazy. But Gamora has always held down and makes a spot. We have three left. What do you got next?
I have Doctor Strange.
Okay, I figured this was coming. No qualms here. Benedict Cumberbatch, fine actor.
Oh yes, very fine actor and a very secretive man. Apparently, nobody knows anything about him personally. He's done a very good job of playing his cards close to his chest. I respect that. I don't think anyone's even that sure how old he is.
Yeah, is he 60 or is he 42? Yeah.
He says he's north of 30, but like he won't give a specific number, and I find that very strange.
Yeah, north of 30. Okay. So is Robert Downey Jr.
My grandpa is also north of 30, if we're going to be, vague here.
Yeah.
But yeah, the character of Doctor Strange is a very interesting character. He's an arrogant surgeon you don't like. He's a prick. But then he has an accident and he learns he didn't learn humility at all. He learns magic and now is the best at this. But Cumberbatch plays him so, in such a way that you like him, but like you still think he's an asshole. It's a cool way to do it. And I love in Infinity War him and Tony Stark meeting and just the alpha fucking energy butting heads with one another. It's great.
What is it? What does he say? He's like, "Did you seriously just lean on the cauldron of whatever?" And he's like, he's like, his cape like bam, like hits his arm. Yeah, so
I love when Tony's like, "What do you do exactly besides make balloon animals?" And he's like, "I protect your reality, douchebag."
Douchebag, yeah. So good.
And he's just so powerful. I love, the shit he does with Dormammu, also played by Cumberbatch, which is cool.
Fantastic.
And then, he's the only one who really is a bit of a physical challenge to Thanos in Infinity War because it's magic versus might. And that's really cool. I think Cumberbatch is a great cast, and I love the character of Doctor Strange. He is significantly underpowered in compared to his comic book counterpart. But again, there's certain things you can't film or else there's no stakes. So if you have a character that powerful, it's gonna be hard to, I saw that in Black Adam. Like if the character's too powerful, there's nothing to root for.
Yeah, I've read a lot about that Doctor Strange. Like if we were translating, like he would just destroy, and it would just be like, well, what's the point? He's the most powerful wizard in the world. Okay, and then like he said, you still have to have a movie, and yeah, I mean, there are moments where it's like, holy shit, he could have done this, he could have done that, but you got to let some stuff go, Sometimes you gotta the whole suspension thing, like you just gotta let go, pump the brakes.
Well, the comics are not always gospel. You know, in the comic books, Thanos only wiped out half of all life because he was really trying to fuck the female embodiment of death. That was the whole point. And when she said, "I'm not that into you," he was like, "Well, fine. I don't even want to do this anymore." Like he's
So
kind of
awesome.
a Thanos is a bit of a simp in the comic book.
Yeah,
So movie Thanos is way better as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, he's just a fuck boy in the comics.
Kind of. Although in the Infinity War comic, there is a cool moment where Nebula steals the stones from him and is like, "Now I'm the most powerful being on in the universe," and Thanos helps the Avengers like take her down, which was kind of cool. But that would have betrayed the character in the movies. Nebula would never do that.
Yeah. You got to change some stuff up, give it that continuity because with comics you can just branch out and do all kinds of crazy shit, and you can say, oh well, it's a part of this storyline or this arc or this storyline. With these 23 movies, you do have to stick to a formula,
Yeah.
and I respect that. All right, man. Got two spots left. I'm gonna read off the names I have left just to see kind of where we're at. Like these last two spots, we got to be careful here. Got Hawkeye, Ant-Man,
Mhm.
Peter Quill, Star-Lord,
Mhm.
War Machine.
Ah.
Yeah, yeah. Love me some Don Cheadle. Falcon, Vision,
Mm.
Rocket and Groot, Captain Marvel, fucking Happy Hogan,
Mm.
Drax, Thaddeus Ross, and the Ancient One. Those are the last names that I had on my list, my personal list.
Christ.
Like, who doesn't deserve, to be on there?
Well, Captain Marvel, I don't think. Her movie's not that great. I think that character's
Yeah,
been underserved in the MCU thus far. I'm hoping the Marvels can kind of rectify that.
yeah. It's not really. I like Brie Larson. It's not her fault, but the movie just not that great. I thought the tone of it was very odd. It just kind of put me off. I was like, it felt like they were just like, we got to get this out there before the last one comes out.
Yep, exactly. I'm hoping with this new one we actually get some, character points. Another one of those issues where the character's so fucking powerful that I don't feel any stakes.
Yeah, and and they built themselves a nice out during Endgame with her is, well, what? Where were you? Why did you do this? She's like, there's other fucking universes out there. It's like that's the out of like, oh, if she's not able to help us, it's because she's helping this other universe deal with something just as catastrophic, which is a little cheap, but like you have to do something because otherwise, yeah, she should just come in and be like, "Fuck all of you! I'm gonna kill everything," and I'm Superman. So her character is hard for me to like root for or like really care about because of the like all powerful might that she has.
Yeah. Um, Happy Hogan, I like as much as I love the four head of security.
Yeah.
I don't see him making the cut here.
Okay. All right.
Uh, I had some of my additional. I had pretty much everybody you've got. I also
Let's hear
had
your others.
Crossbones. I
Yeah.
had I had Ultron. I know a lot of people don't like Ultron. I never really understood that. I fucking love Ultron.
I like Ultron. Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah. Um, I had Heimdall.
Oh yeah. Idris.
Yeah. I there's no way he's gonna be here, but I had Louise from Ant-Man because
Oh, yeah.
I love the idea of this guy who just hangs around and narrates in his own way. I thought that was very creative and funny.
Yeah, totally fair. It's a good personal shout out.
I had Wong.
Okay. Yeah, I like Wong.
I love Wong. I had Ego because
Yeah,
Kurt
ego.
Russell's the
Yeah.
fucking man.
Yeah.
And I just love the character is done so well. He's this almighty god who has Peter on his side until he just casually mentions that he killed his mom, and then immediately Peter is like shooting him in the face. Like there's no love at all. It's immediate. I love that every time. Um, yeah, I had MJ, but really like MJ, I would want the MJ from No Way Home. Like I want, but that's not here yet.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that.
No. Um, yeah, this is tough. Two spots. What are you leaning towards?
I mean, if we're going off of like Hawkeye, I mean, it's pretty important. It's pretty important to what's going on.
Okay.
He especially there, you know, the beginning of the movie, you know, we have of Endgame, we have of course Robert Downey Jr. talking, but then we flash to the moment where he loses all of his family members, and that is a gut wrenching scene. So the movie kind of kicks off its tone with him with Hawkeye, and then we find out that he's like in Japan being a total fucking badass, you know. And then he, you know, gets woken up like, hey man, you need to come with us. We got stuff to do. And then he has the moment with Black Widow, and he has the moment where he gets his family back. Yeah, he's just got such a crazy ride in Endgame. And I love Jeremy Renner. We talked about him a little bit earlier. Like I think Hawkeye is probably the most. He's definitely the guy with the most screen time of all these people we've named. He's probably got the most going for him because he was there since 2012. So that's tough. Ant-Man's fucking great. Paul Rudd crushes it in those two movies, and he's really fun. It's really fun to see Paul Rudd and Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. talk about time travel. That's a lot of fun. I'll be honest, I'm not a crazy Star-Lord fan. I'm not a huge Chris Pratt guy, but I do recognize he's pretty damn important to the saga. I love War Machine. I love Don Cheadle. I love Don Cheadle's really cool chemistry with Robert Downey Jr. I love Anthony Mackie. I love Falcon. Vision is great. Vision has some. You're not a huge fan.
I like Vision, but again, he is so nerfed compared to what he is in the comics that I feel like we got like
That's fair.
Vision light.
Yeah, Vision Light. I like that. Rocket and Groot. I mean, I don't know. I love them both, but I don't know. I mean, they're more there for comedic
Yeah,
purposes.
they're a unit.
Yeah, it's yeah. So I don't know. I think if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably say Hawkeye and Ant Man.
Okay,
What about you?
I'm
War
with you.
Machine. War Machine. War Machine. Yeah. Like I don't know. I
No,
don't know.
I'm with you on Hawkeye. I think we put him on the board, so we've got the original Avengers lineup all here.
We do. We have them all. Feels good.
It does. It's nice to have a complete set. Uh, yeah, Hawkeye is again, he's the guy on the team with gods, monsters, and super soldiers, and he's a dude with a bow and arrow. So
Yeah.
he's fully aware of his placement here. He's like, they don't need me on a physical level, but they need me on an emotional one because he's the one who keeps them human. He keeps his feet on the ground. He keeps them. He reminds them what they're fighting for, and I love that. And yeah, just losing his whole family and then going after the Japanese inexplicably, and then be- becoming, the Ronin briefly, which comes back to haunt him in Hawkeye. Yeah, he's got a hell of a run in Endgame. But along the way, he never I don't think he ever loses why he's here, like
Mm.
what they're fighting for. He is that guy. He's the guy. So Hawkeye deserves to be here. The final, I'm leaning towards Ant-Man myself. I'm looking over my list to see if there's anybody I might have missed, and I'm gonna be like, shit, why didn't we give it to them? I think it is weird we're not going back into the Guardians pool, but you know what? I am with you on Chris Pratt. Star-Lord it's Chris Pratt. Owen from Jurassic World is Chris Pratt. The Lego
Yeah.
guy, Lego movie, it's Chris Pratt. He doesn't go
I'm,
outside of Chris Pratt.
I'm kind of tired of it. Yeah. I'm kind of
Him
like
too.
I'm kind of tired of him. Yeah. It's just like, okay, we get it.
Yeah. You are hot now. We got it. You were funny.
Yeah.
We get it. I just don't, he's surrounded by better characters.
Totally agree.
Ah, yeah, you know what? Ant-Man doesn't have any representation here. Let's give it to Ant-Man.
Ant-Man takes the last spot. I like it. I can dig that. Are you sure you don't want to go with Michael Douglas from Ant-Man as
I
Hank?
do love Hank Pym. I think the movie left out his serious spousal abuse in the comics, but I get it. Uh, yeah, he's
Yeah,
constantly smacking his wife in the comics. It's
the
weird.
the MCU does not like to something I was thinking about today was the lack of either the lack of like relationship issues and the lack of, and I know that because they're family movies and they're geared, I mean, I don't know, they're PG-13 and no, they're no higher than that. It's not a lot of like sexual tension in these movies, but it's like, yeah, but they're people. And I've always been kind of like what, confused by that. But
I
again, it's more about the fighting rather than like the actual what's going on behind closed doors type thing.
They were fully prepared to give us a Bruce Banner Natasha Romanoff romance in Age of Ultron that ultimately didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
And I feel like if kids can watch Yellow Jacket get crushed into a fucking portal the size of a quarter, they can hear a little bit of relationship drama.
yeah, and if they can see Thanos crush Vision's skull to get a stone, a yellow stone, I think yeah, I think it'd be okay to kind of insinuate that Gamora and Peter Quill are about to sleep together or something.
Kids watched their favorite heroes crumble into dust, and Captain America had to admit that they lost. That was
Yeah,
enough. That was traumatizing enough. I think any, sexual tension is going to go over their heads anyway.
yeah,
I don't think there's a problem there. Like, why not? I mean, Eternals had a blatant sex scene, but nobody remembers it because nobody fucking saw Eternals.
yeah. Nobody ever talks about that movie. So yeah, I've just always been curious. It's like I don't know. I just feel like that's a big part of being a person, and it just doesn't
Nobody
really happen.
nobody plays the field in the MCU. They have their designated romantic interest, and that is it.
Yeah, you don't have. Yeah, Ant Man's not out here like, who am I gonna fuck next? Like that's not happening. It'd be funny if it did.
They're also trying to. These are heroes. Like heroes don't necessarily, prowl.
Oh. My heroes do. I'm just kidding. Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah, it's always been a thought. Like,
Well, the only one who did
hmm.
was Captain America, and he went after his old flame niece. So that got messy.
Yeah, that is a little messy love life there for Steve,
Yeah.
for old Steve Rogers. There's definitely tension between Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth, in the Thor movies.
Well, they used to date, but now they don't know what it is. Like that got too real, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what
I don't
are
like
we?
this.
Like, are we a thing? I don't know. You don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I go to movies, get away from that shit.
Oh, this is great. All right, so we have our list here. Just make sure everything's right. We got 20 motherfuckers in this list. We got Black Panther, Spider-Man, Iron Man, the Scarlet Witch, Loki, Hulk, Thanos, Nebula, Captain America, Red Skull, Nick Fury, so awesome, Yondu, Thor, Black Widow, Bucky Barnes, Killmonger, Gamora, Doctor Strange, Hawkeye, and Ant-Man.
Yeah, if you had to pick 20 characters to represent the MCU, that's a good bunch.
That is a good bunch. I'd say the ones that are tough. Yeah, I mean, War Machine's tough, Falcon's tough. Outside of that, I feel pretty good.
The big loss for me is Drax. I
Drax
love
is so great.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
Dave Bautista's performance, and he has my favorite line in the entire MCU. It's in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and it's when they go to Ego's planet, and Ego mentions something about being humble, and Drax goes, "Oh, I understand. I too am extraordinarily humble." Kills me
Oh,
every time. I fucking love that line.
yeah, the Infinity War when he's eating the bag of chips. Just yeah, just good stuff. I've mastered the art of being so incredibly silent that no one can see me. I'm invisible. Oh man, how
I
long have you
love.
been staying there? An hour.
I think it's Mantis who walks in and is like, "Hi, Drax," and he just goes, "Damn it," and walks away.
Yeah, just so disappointed. Yeah. Oh yeah, he adds a lot. He adds a lot to the screen when he's there. So that's a good shout. That was fun, man. It was fun to just kind of shine a spotlight on some characters we love and people that have meant a lot to this thing that's lasted for over, it's going to be closer to 2 decades than before we know it, we're going to have 2 decades of these Marvel movies, this MCU fucking giant monster of a franchise. So it was cool to talk about these first 23 movies and kind of highlight our fair people from it.
Well, I mean, technically speaking, the MCU has been in our lives like like over 3 decades, which is pretty cool.
True.
Yeah, I Iron Man came out when we were 13. This has been a huge part of my life.
Half of our life. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've seen every single one of these films in theaters opening day. Like this has been a big piece of who I've become as a film fan. So that's pretty significant.
Yeah, it is. It is. I didn't see all of them in theaters. I'll tell you that, but but I I have seen them all. I'm not, I have kept up, and I did keep up. And when Infinity War came out, I was like, okay, I get it. I really I get why people are obsessed with this shit. Um, it's just a fucking incredible movie. So it caused me to go back and rewatch, all of the movies in between that year before Endgame came out. So, and then Endgame didn't disappoint. I'm in the boat that likes Infinity War a little bit more than Endgame because Endgame is at points, because they're doing the time travel stuff. It's redoing a lot of what we just saw, but the better, like happier ending. Infinity War is just like, fuck you, half of you are dead, deal with it. And when I walked out of the theater, I was like, I've never seen a superhero movie do that because it hasn't happened. So I was just so jazzed that a movie went to that dark of a place because I'm sure for you it was like, well, that was dark. That was like the darkest hour of my life. But for me, it was like invigorating. It was like holy hell, like that's so cool because I'm not as attached to what's happened. I didn't go see them all in theaters opening weekend. I saw a lot of them at home on my own TV. So that attachment wasn't as solid or strong for me. So when I see people get snapped, I'm like, that was kind of cool. It was kind of like, wow, like because deep down, they'll be back. Deep down, like there's going to be a better ending. People still die. Iron Man dies. Bad things happen. Black Widow dies, but it's not going to be half the population. You're like it will get better.
True. But at the time, it was like,
It took a
we had
year.
it took it took a year, and that is the only time I've ever walked out of one of these and nobody was talking. Like everyone
You
was.
just hear me in the back like, holy fucking shit, that was cool. Everybody's crying.
It was it
Everybody's
was
dead.
it was stunned silence. Like everyone there was like, "What was that? We just saw our heroes lose, and half the universe was destroyed. The bad guy won. What the hell?"
Yeah.
And yeah, and then a year later, Endgame comes out. We're like, okay, everything's okay. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and with Infinity War, so you probably saw it well before I did because I didn't get to see it probably like it was probably a week after it came out. So now these days, These Marvel movies, they have those Thursday night show. When you watch the trailer, it says it comes out November 11th, but really it comes out November 10th because it's a Marvel movie, and like there's high demand for those show times at 6, 7, 8 p.m. on Thursday night. So like you probably saw it Thursday night. I didn't see it till like Tuesday or Wednesday the next week. So and we worked at Draft House. So I
Uh,
worked this movie tirelessly. Like I ran popcorn in those goddamn theaters and beer and candy and fucking milkshakes. So I kept seeing stuff and I was like, fuck off, like I want to watch this movie. I worked all of those days. So I didn't have time for it. What you probably did, this is my guess. What you probably did was like, I need that day off. Give me that day off. Give me that Thursday or Friday off. So because I'm going to see it before I have to run in that theater over and over and over.
I planned this out a
Yeah,
year in advance. I
exactly.
When I
Exactly.
got hired back on, I told them I can't work Thursdays. I didn't tell them why. I just told them I can't work Thursdays. So that's it. So I was never scheduled a Thursday. So I saw every big movie Thursday night. I got tickets prior. I got the pre-sale. Infinity War, I pissed a lot of people off because they saw me walking in and I got glares from a lot of the food runners, a lot of the waiters, and I didn't give a fuck because this was my time. I went in there, I saw Infinity War, I walked out the next day, and the next like 4 months, I worked the movie with y'all. But
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
fine. I'd already seen it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and when you work at Draft House, and God bless the place, they still do really cool stuff, right? And that's where I saw the new Black Panther. Actually, was at Draft House, and um, the one we worked at,
Mhm.
and those memories flood back of God, like it. While I had a lot of fun there, it sure did suck working a big movie like that because it played over and over and over. You would have, if you worked a Saturday, like the Saturday after it came out, right? That first Saturday, the first showing's at like 10 a.m. and the last one's at midnight. You're like,
Dude.
I don't even want to see the movie anymore. I'm tired. I'm like tired of seeing because you're in there a ton at the beginning of the movie because you're running out all the stuff, the food, the appetizers, the drinks, whatever. So you're seeing a lot of the beginning of the movie. And then it slows down. People have their stuff, they have their food, they're enjoying the movie. And they get their checks with like 30 minutes left in the movie. And you're like, okay, I don't have to be in there as much anymore. But occasionally some jackass is like, I need a fifth beer. And so you have to go back in there. And I remember I remember this like yesterday. I remember going back into the theater during Infinity War and I was like giving this guy his beer and I was like, I'm seeing things that I shouldn't see right now. I'm seeing I'm seeing I'm seeing Thanos snap his goddamn fingers. I
Oh,
don't want it. I don't want to see that right now. So I went into the movie. And a lot of the people that work there were like, "Oh, buckle up, dude! Like, you have no idea." And I was like, "No, I have an idea. I have a very good idea of what's going to happen, and I'm pissed. Like, I know that people are going to vanish and die. Like I knew that going into it.
these movies mean so much to me that from the day I got hired at Draft House, November 2015, I deliberately organized my schedule so that would never fucking happen to me. And
Yeah, it happened to me a lot.
I'll never forget the hardest I ever worked at that place. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
That
That
totally makes sense.
that thing, I still have flashbacks from that, man. I have leg pain that never left because of that fucking movie. Um, so we got the employee screening. It was like me and like 8 people. I was so happy. Like the day before it happened, I was like, I'm gonna get to see Star Wars without a bunch of weirdos being loud and excited. I'm so happy.
The world's craziest fans,
Yeah,
like hands down.
because those are the people who are going to show up on the first day in costume demanding the weirdest shit. Because that's what happened the next day. 7 a.m. was the first showing.
Yeah, like fuck.
It was 7 a.m. to like 2 in the morning. every single day. And you remember how it was there. When you're there indefinitely until somebody with power tells you you can go home. It's the
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
worst.
You don't have a 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. shift, a normal 8 hour shift. It's like show up when you can, and when you die, we'll let you go home,
Yeah.
and then you can come back in the morning.
I had to beg people to be like, I've been on my feet since 7. I can't move. Can I go home? And I didn't
Yeah,
like to do that. I didn't like to be the guy asking if I could go home. And after like 9 to 10 hours running popcorn up and down stairs, I had to tell somebody like, I'm about to pass out. Can I get out of here? And it was
yeah,
that for about 5 months. Like Star Wars did not let up. It was full shows all day, every day for 4 or 5 months. I know the entire script to Force Awakens by heart because I saw every second of that movie 100 times.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The movies that I remember just being like, okay, I get it. The first one was Ragnarok because I started like in early fall of 2017. So Ragnarok was like the first big one. And then you had like Coco came out during like that December, and so I had like seen all of Coco before I actually saw it. Very very annoying. And then yeah, Black Panther, Infinity War, Deadpool 2, 2018. That 2018 spring was not fun. Like was relentless, and I was like, do I even like movies anymore? I went through that kind of existential, crisis. But
the
I still love movies, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't trade the experience. Like I hated it, but I loved it, and it like helped form me in a lot of ways. That's where I met my fucking wife. So that's where I
I
met
was just
you.
I
So
was just about to say like you met your wife at Draft House. It was a pretty big deal.
yeah, yeah. So I love that place for those reasons. But then the whole like, and when I go there now, still, I, I I love what they do. I love that me and you got to go see the thing a couple months ago there, and it looked awesome and it was a lot of fun. I I I would rather go somewhere else where there's not people running in and out over and over. Like I'm just not a big fan of that. When you go see a big movie like Black Panther, I'm not into that. And people being like, "Did you order the fried pickles?" And I'm like, I don't care right now. They're doing a tribute to Chadwick Boseman. Get the fuck out the way. I prefer more now on my own time to go to like a Santikos theater. Usually is my go to like here in San Antonio, like Embassy is my favorite. Because you don't have that. You get your drinks, you go inside, the movie plays, no one goes in and out.
See, I get it, but when I go to those places, they don't do anything about talkers.
They don't. You're right. You're right. That's one thing Draft House is good about. They don't let you go in. If the movie started, you don't get to go in. And if you're on your phone, you can get kicked out. And if you talk, you can get kicked out. So I'm with you there.
I can get a $17 burger anywhere. I go to
Yeah.
Draft House mostly because they shut that shit down, and I need that. I've almost lost my mind at people. Like I've yelled at people like shut the fuck up at certain movies because I'm like I waited for this for a very long time. You're taking it away from me. You have an enemy. Shut up.
Yeah.
And yeah, it that means a lot to me. If you're gonna, that fucks with my experience way more than somebody delivering a soda. Although that did happen to me when I saw Wakanda Forever during the tribute. Some dude had the wrong table. Was like, who had the Dr Pepper? And I'm like, none of us.
Yeah.
We don't have
Shove
a
that
Dr.
Dr. Pepper up your ass. No
No
one
way.
cares. Oh man. Yeah. That stuff bothers me. Most people are not on the same page as me. They like most people love, especially here in Texas, people fucking love the Draft House, and I get it. And a part of me really does and really respects them playing old movies. I don't need things. I don't need to consume things while I'm consuming something. Like I have some self control. It's like people go there for the food now,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you're supposed to be watching a movie. It's what you're supposed to be doing. And a lot
Yeah.
of people are like, or a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just really craving their shake. Like, I'm craving to see a movie, so that's why I go to the fucking theater. You know.
FYI, y'all, the shake has increased in price and decreased in size. So you're go somewhere else.
I got loaded fries when we saw Black Panther. $11. I was like, oh, like, come off it. Like, I can't stand it. That's obviously not a draft house problem. That's an inflation problem. But Jesus, when you go somewhere to get a fucking appetizer, you're thinking, $6 maybe. Nope, not anymore.
Nope. I got a $17 burger and a $7 Coke. It's like I did have a moment of like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, it's I go there for the cool pre-show. I like the environment. I like that they shoo out talkers, and that's
yeah.
pretty much it.
They do give a shit about like the experience. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, this is fun. I always love when we go on these draft house tangents. But the heart of it is that we both worked Infinity War. There were times where we looked at one another sweating like,
Whenever that
Jesus H.
screen with all the theaters would start turning red, I'd feel like Aragorn storming the Black Gate, like, we stand, men of the West. Like, we can do this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I forgot when I went this time. Of course, Marvel does the um post credit scenes, right? And
Mhm.
so it's like, oh, well, we gotta wait, and we waited till the very end, and then that 5 minute thing starts, and I was like, oh, that was like the death. that was like that was like 5 minutes to clean the whole theater after all these slobs just left queso on the table and spilled beer and didn't give a shit. And there's popcorn wedged in between the cup holders. Like, how did you do that? You fucking monsters.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
God.
As horribly paid as I was and as overworked as I was, I would not trade my experience at the draft house for anything. It's the best job. It's the only job I've ever missed, and it gave me one of the best friendships I've ever had. So I nothing but good memories.
Yeah, yeah, we got to be a part of like a pretty special uh, company organization that like is trying to make movies important, is trying, to make experiences and their a lot of their stuff is watch more movies and just kind of these simple reminders of movie watching and movie going is a for a lot of people a very important piece of life, and that's obviously very important for you and I. And the fact that we met there makes so much sense. uh our first conversations were about the Coen brothers and Quentin Tarantino and John Carpenter and all these people that we still talk about now. That we haven't skipped a beat. So that's pretty cool. I love that. Well, let's do these awards, and so we can call it an episode. We have to do awards for a specific movie for it to be an Oscar Sunday episode. And Endgame was up for Best Visual Effects at the 92nd Academy Awards. Um, this is a ceremony that we've covered a lot this year. We did The Lighthouse, we did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we did Parasite. Now we're doing Endgame. Talk about the gauntlet of four really great movies. Best Visual Effects was won by 1917. Okay, it beat Endgame, The Irishman, The Lion King, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. I would give this to Endgame because it's kind of the movie. 1917, I understand a nomination, but winning over probably the greatest visual effect feat of all time doesn't make a lot of sense.
For Thanos alone, they should have won
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
It's
For looking real at times when it's in fact not. Like
yeah,
that should be the whole category. They don't the Academy, aside from Black Panther, has not really given the MCU much love. Just no major categories, not a lot of wins, and that's disappointing. But I know you definitely think Endgame should have been up for quite a bit more, and maybe we can kind of get into some reasons why. and like maybe who should be up, as we get into our awards. So we have the Tarantino for best quote. We have the Ennio Morricone for the best music moment. There's a lot going on there. The Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for the best performance, which is so enticing. It's a race. There's a lot of great performances, and the Roger Deakins Award for the best scene of the movie. Good luck, my friend. Get going when you're ready.
I knew what my best line was going to be before I even started watching this.
I,
It's two.
I actually did too.
It's two words. It's a big moment. It's something we've been waiting to hear since the first Avengers movie, and the execution. Oh my god! So everyone has emerged from their various portals. Thanos is like, "Oh shit! Now there's an army. I must have really pissed these people off." And the Avengers are there, so Cap gives the battle cry. Avengers assemble, and everyone, and it's, oh man, I can't even talk about it without getting excited. It's such an incredible moment in movie history that is pretty unrivaled in terms of scale and build up, and it just, oh my god, one of the greatest theater experiences of my entire life is seeing this opening night. Oh my god, just a sea of people who love it as much as I do, who've been waiting a year, who are dedicated, who are going to shut the fuck up because they care, and just watching that. Oh, so good. So Avengers assemble. That is my line.
Yeah, beautiful. Uh, I, I love the delivery of the line because he screams Avengers, and then it's just real quiet. Assemble. It's just like
Well,
Cap.
it's Avengers, then Mjolnir flying into his fucking hand, then assemble, which is like,
Which
oh,
that was when the crowd went the craziest. When he gets the hammer, everybody's like, yeah, just fuck yeah, and Thor's like, I knew it, I knew he could do it. It's such an awesome moment. It's just great. All ages can enjoy, a moment that beautiful. I I love the various kind of little mini groups from the different movies and different worlds popping through the Doctor Strange circle things. I love that. My favorite is seeing T'Challa, Nakia, Okoye, Shiri. It's just like, oh Jesus, that's so sick. And then the way, like you mentioned it earlier, the way T'Challa and Steve look at each other is like, oh dude, it's about to go down. Like
no.
we're about to get crazy.
Fair warning, all of my awards pretty much stay in the same zone. So that's expect a lot of this scene being talked about.
Yeah. 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 I mean, yeah. How can you stay away from it, right? My Tarantino, I've always been obsessed with this part of the movie. I've always thought it's kind of like the adults talking, the adults having a chat, and Thanos says, "You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me. I thought by eliminating half of the life, and the other thought, then the other half would thrive. But you have shown me that's impossible. And as long as there are those that remember what was, there will always be those that are unable to accept what can be. They will resist." Iron Man says, "Yep, we're all kinds of stubborn." Thanos, "I'm thankful because now I know what I must do. I will shred this universe down to its last atom. And then with the stones you've collected for me to create a new one teeming with life that knows not what it has lost, but only what it has been given, a grateful universe." Steve Rogers says, "Born out of blood." And Thanos says, "They'll never know it because you won't be alive to tell them." Oh, it's just three like fucking dudes just fucking talking shop, before they get down to business. And it's such a badass little bit of dialogue. Thanos is the coolest villain. Like it's just delivered so well by all three actors. Love that bit.
Yeah, I had some other contenders that I knew weren't going to take it, but I wanted to talk about. Um,
Yeah, talk
another
away.
there's another bit with Thanos. It's after he's kicked everyone's ass and he's got Cap on the rocks, not on the rocks, on the ropes, not on the rocks. I don't know why he'd be drinking Captain America. Um, and he tells him, like, in all my years of conquest, it was never personal. But what I'm about to do to your stubborn, irritating little planet, I'm gonna enjoy it. Very
Yeah.
like, oh shit. Like just the look in his eyes of like, I hate you people so much.
So good. So good.
Oh, I love that. I love at the beginning when Thor kills 2018 Thanos and everyone's like, what did you do? And he just goes, I went for the head.
Yeah.
Clearly troubled and shattered by the experience. And he's like, I should have done this earlier. And yeah, there's some great dialogue in this movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's some incredible lines. Yeah, yeah, there I guess the other that I really like is kind of a cute moment between Clint Barton, Hawkeye, and his daughter at the beginning of the movie when he's teaching her archery. I'm always really touched by this scene, and you got Linda Cardellini in the back talking about mayo or mustard on hot dogs, and the daughter's like, "Fucking mayo on hot dogs? Who does that shit?" And he's like, "Probably your brothers." But she's pointing the arrow at the target, and he tells her, "You see where you're going. Now let's worry about how you get there." Always gotten chills from that line, and I think it speaks to a lot of the movie and like what we've been talking about now for over 2 hours on this episode is the importance of caring about the journey, caring about how you get there, like how,
Yeah.
like this is why the MCU, like why it was relevant, why it made so much money, why people cared, is because they gave a shit about each piece to the puzzle. While some pieces are bigger than others, or more important, or a little bit finer tuned, each piece did matter. It meant something. It was leading to something, and like that's rewarding as an audience member, as a fan. You're like, oh, they actually gave a shit compared to what we see the past decade with like something like DC. You're like, wow, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it, and I know which one's right.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that dialogue, works really well for that movie because we all know how it's going to end. We all know they're
Yep.
coming back. What we don't know is how. And, just enjoy the ride. I love that. That's Marvel's whole thing. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah. Buy the ticket, take the ride. There's another line in the movie. I couldn't pinpoint it. There's a lot going on in Endgame. Someone says life's something about the journey, not the destination. I can't remember who or what said that, but I've always talked about that with movies. Is yeah, if you stick the landing, that's great. That's wonderful if you stick the landing. But if the minutes and the space between the notes, the minutes in between while I'm watching, if I'm not having fun, if I'm not interested, if I'm not enlightened or intrigued, I don't care. I don't care if you stick the landing if I didn't have something to say about the journey getting to the end.
Yeah.
That's got to be how you view your own life. If you are a piece of shit from age 5 to 80, but age 81 to 82 you were kind of cool, I don't care. Like, you're a piece of shit all those other years. You got to like care, you got to give a shit, you got to care about what's going on in your life and in your story. So I've always respected that when storytelling, even if it's on the nose, just tells you that this is important. Storytelling is important. It can get you through really tough times.
I agree. I think that bit of dialogue you were talking about comes from Tony Stark's hologram, where he says, part of the journey is the end. Like everybody wants a
Yeah.
happy ending, that kind of thing. Yeah, his kind of epilogue.
Yeah, at the end when when he's talking to his daughter, basically, it's like, oh Jesus H. Yeah.
One bit of dialogue that always brings tears to my eyes is when Happy is talking to Morgan, and he's like, "What do you want to eat?" And she goes, "Cheeseburgers." And he has this moment where he gets choked up, and he's like, "Your dad loved cheeseburgers." Like,
Yeah, and he's like, I'm gonna buy you all the cheeseburgers you want.
like
Like,
we remember when Tony liked cheeseburgers. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
good shit. Good
Wonderful.
shit. All right. And your Morricone Award.
Mm.
Music. Good score.
You know how much I love Alan Silvestri.
Yeah,
And
I do. I do.
I consider this movie one of his crowning achievements. Uh, bit of score is called Portals,
Okay.
and it's the portal scene where everyone
Yep.
shows up, but
Yep. Yep.
the build up to that, just the drums and the little horn becoming this majestic, heroic theme of the heroes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe uniting to stop Thanos together. All of them, not just the Avengers, but the Guardians and the Ravagers and the Mystics and the fucking armies of Wakanda and everybody, the Asgardians, like they're all here to save this world. And it just, oh my God. And then it cracks into the fucking Avengers theme, and I can't stop smiling. It's perfect. It's a perfect bit of music. Oh my God. Alan, you're the best.
Alan, my man. Oh yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, how yeah. You said you were like, oh, I'm gonna be in this scene a lot. Well, it's one of the most important scenes of the century, so I get it. I understand. So yeah, some of the big moment big moments in these movies, the score, like they nail it better than most other big moments in big movies. You really feel like you're inside of a world that was so specially crafted. And yeah, chef's kiss, baby. Yeah.
It's remarkable. No film can have a 22 film build up behind it and work as well as this does.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. Like, there's not really much of a letdown here. It's pretty much all cool, awesome, payoff, 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 payoff. Cool shit to look forward to. Payoff. Just consistently brings that emotion. Uh, I knew you were going to go with the score, so I want to talk about something that I think is a little bit underrated on the side of the MCU. I think when they do decide to use soundtrack, I think sometimes it's pretty damn good. Obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy has one of the most iconic soundtracks. Black Panther's got some really really cool stuff going on with the album that Kendrick Lamar and company that they wrote for Black Panther. And in Endgame, the very beginning of the movie,
Mm.
I just love me some Traffic. I love that band. I've chosen them before for an award when we talked about The Fighter, Rock and Roll Stew. This time it's Dear Mr. Fantasy. Uh, really cool track, and is somehow fits in. I don't know how they do that with Marvel. You hear the dun 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 dun,
Yeah.
and that's like what you hear. But for me, I've always been kind of attached to these random needle drops that they choose that are like really fitting and work. And in this case, it's you're basically listening to Robert Downey Jr. and you're hearing this song before at the very beginning of the movie. You're really unsure of what's going down. You're like, all right, it's good. This is going to be a tough. It's going to be a tough way to get back to getting all the humans back. And they choose this song. Like that was a choice. That was like a really creative choice. Whoever made that, like that's balls, and I love that. I love when a big giant movie makes a ballsy choice and uses a bit of needle drop. Not a lot of people know who the fuck Traffic is, especially people watching Marvel movies. This is an old 70s band that kicks ass. They could have used anything they want. They could buy the rights to any fucking Beatles, Rolling Stones, like whatever band. They choose a Traffic song, really unique song. I've always respected that about the MCU. They have these cool choices throughout that are like unique pop culture references. So I've always respected that.
Beautiful. I'm so glad you picked this. I nearly had I was in the middle of writing this down, and then in the back of my head I'm like, well, what about Portals? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I deleted it immediately. I'm like, yeah.
Well, what about Portals, you fucking idiot? Yeah.
But yeah,
you're
it's such a great.
the like devil and angel on your shoulders, or like they have the Robert Downey Jr. voice, like, don't be an idiot. Don't choose
I felt
portals.
I felt like Cusco or Kronk in The Emperor's New Groove. Like, oh, no,
Yep.
he's gonna.
Yeah. I
But
can do this.
it's great. I don't know why that song has such a finality about it that like you just feel like this is the end of all of it. I don't know what that song is. My favorite bit about that whole thing is that in the intro, the MCU intro, everyone who got snapped is not there.
That's the best, right? That is my favorite MCU intro, aside from the new Black Panther one, where it's all Chadwick.
Yeah.
That was sick.
Yeah, it was a cool detail. And yeah, it just lures you in, basically tells you, buckle the fuck up. The next 3 hours are going to be the best time of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, good shit. Good shit. I also love, a little callback to Guardians of the Galaxy with Come and Get Your Love by Redbone. That's a fun moment. And Don Cheadle is like, so he's an idiot.
Well, I love getting to see that scene from Peter's perspective where he's just, on his Walkman, like dancing to nothing, according to everybody else. I love that. You don't think about that, but that is what's going on in Guardians.
Yes. And he's like, come and get you, like kicking rats and shit. So yeah, from Don Cheadle's perspective, he's like, the fuck is this guy doing?
I love that weird, I think it's a Kinks song that's playing when they go to New Asgard.
Oh yeah, supersonic rocket ship. That's a sick song.
Yeah, it's like this is perfect. Like the soundtrack choices are like cheap but effective.
Yeah. They're like, hey, we got to cut our budget somewhere. It's like, let's find some random 70s music and we'll make it work. Like, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Love me some Traffic. Yeah. So I can't believe I've given Traffic 2 Inyos in the past like month. It's awesome. All right, here we go. Philip Seymour Hoffman Award. This is tough, my friends.
This was very tough. I had a couple people written down, and then I was finally convinced in the final act of the film about who I should go with here. I had Karen Gillan for the longest time.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if we have the same person. That would be crazy. That would be like when we both put Giancarlo Esposito for Do the Right Thing, and we were like, "What?" Out of all the people, out of all the amazing performances in that movie, we both chose Giancarlo. I'm curious if we have the same person here.
It could happen. Our brains tend to sync up randomly, and it's just yeah. Ultimately, I went with Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, you said Chris, and I was like, holy shit! I got Chris Evans.
All right. Well, close. We were both in the Chris lane.
I thought you'd go RDJ or Chris Evans. So here we go. Chris Hemsworth. I love it.
Okay. So when we all saw Endgame, I don't think anybody expected Lebowski Thor to show up, but he did.
No.
And Chris Hemsworth, like, insisted on staying that way through the whole movie. He was supposed to just be fat for a couple of scenes and then go back to being regular Thor. But Hemsworth argued, no, I got to stay like this because he's not ready to change. Hemsworth does something so good with Thor in this movie. Thor is a god. He's the god of thunder. He's an Asgardian. He's 5,000 or 6,000 years old. He does not have relatability. But in these movies, we see Thor become more human than we ever thought possible. And in this movie, we see him depressed. We see him, he has failed. He has, in his eyes, he let Thanos win by not acting fast enough. This is all on him. And he let that get into his head. It reflects, that's reflected by his physical appearance. He's given up. He's a broken man. And we have to see Thor accept that. And in Asgard, when he has a conversation with his mom and he starts, crying and realizing, this is not like, I gotta do something. It's such a great performance and it's such a great little moment, especially when he reaches out his hand and he finds out he's worthy still. He's never not been worthy. He's always had that in him. He just needed to find it again. I love that so much. And then at the end, when he goes full Viking and goes after Thanos with his boys, it's like, yes, this Thor's back. It's such a great little arc of redemption that is so much, it's minimal to what like Nebula goes through, what Loki goes through, but it's needed for him to fully realize the character and be the best version of himself. And I thought Chris Hemsworth delivered that so perfectly.
Mm, I love that. Well said. Going from like trying to sneak off to the winery or the wine cellar when he sees his mom and he's like, oh fuck. He's like, hold on, I think there's a wine cellar down here.
I love when they got the stones and they're trying to decide who's going to put on the gauntlet and snap their fingers to bring everyone back. And Thor's insisting. He's like, I'm the most powerful Avenger. It's going to be me. And Tony has to stop him and be like, normally that would be true, but you're not at your best right now. And Thor's crying. He's like, you need to let me do this. I need to do something right. And they're all just like, they know why he has to do it, but they know that they can't let him do it because
Yeah,
his mind's not in the right place. It's so great. It's interrupted a little bit by Don Cheadle's cheese whiz joke, but
yeah, yeah.
it's great, and it's a great moment of humility and just kind of human fear out of a god, which we don't ever get to see in movies. But the way the MCU has done Thor has given us so many great moments like that.
Ah, brilliant. So good. Jesus Christ. I'm into that. I'm into that choice. I like it a lot. You sold me on Chris Hemsworth just shining in this movie. I already loved him in the movie, but I like him even more now. I chose Cap. I chose Chris Evans. Just the drama of his character. There's clearly a lot on his shoulders from the very beginning of the movie to the very end. Like you mentioned when we put him into our Hall of Fame, it was like he's the guy everybody looks up to. If he's not firing on all cylinders, then what are we doing? What's the point? And Chris Evans, he just blew me away over that decade, and just I truly believe like learned the art of acting through Captain America, through being in these movies, through carrying some of these movies, and specifically his moments later in this movie. Really at the beginning too. I love the scene on Tony Stark's porch when they're like, "Hey, we have a way to fix things," and Tony's like, "This is stupid. There's this out of the question. There's no way." And just the looks that Robert Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans give each other is like, damn, that's chemistry. They've they've been doing this for a minute. This is and obviously we know it's the last ride. It's emotional for us. Think about being Chris Evans. Think about the finality of playing that character for the last time. That's like that's what brings me more like emotion than like what actually happens in the movie. Is these guys like put their life into it. They put a lot of soul into it. A lot of obviously a lot of time and sacrificed. Of course, I know a lot of these guys get paid. This is their job, but they sacrifice doing so many other things, being a part of so many other projects or doing whatever with their own time to like be a part of something that's way bigger than them, like way bigger, and is going to be remembered for the history of time. This MCU run is never going to get forgotten. It's going to be rewatched. It's going to be talked about the way we've been talking about it for almost 3 hours. Like it has that going for it, and you can see it in like more than anybody. You can see it in Chris Evans' face, just like this is it. Not just in the story of this made up comic book world. This is it for us. Like all of us aren't going to be in the same room again to do what we're doing right now, and it's really cool watching them. As I've seen Endgame probably like 4 or 5 times now, and that's like what I catch on to more is just the emotion that all these actors are giving in this particular movie. Not just the character, but you can see it on them. You can see the like, holy hell, what a ride! Like what we've done is so special and so big and so much more powerful than anything we could ever come up with ourselves. So this movie's awesome, kicks ass, and these people, I think all these people like probably gave their best performance all inside these last two movies. They really, really went for it, and I respect that about it so much. So yeah, for me, it was either going to be Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. because Robert Downey completely fucking takes your heart out at the end, and the classic, I am inevitable and no, I am Iron Man is, he just steals the show at the end, and then the moment with his daughter. But I also love the old man Chris Evans, the Joe Biden moment. I love that moment too. He looks like Joe Biden. Next time you watch it,
I noticed he does look exactly like Joe Biden. It's just funny to talk about it.
Yeah, it's funny if you're like watching with somebody and it's real quiet because you're like locked in, and then you just go, "Oh, is that Joe Biden?" And people are like, "Shut the fuck up, man! I'm trying to have a good time here." I love that moment too. I love when Falcon's like, "You gonna tell me about her?" He's like, "No, I don't think so. I'm just gonna sit on this fucking bench and look out at this water." And that's I lived my life. It's really cool. It's quite rushed, that ending, but I liked it. I like it. It's like because they do the time travel thing like out of nowhere. It's like, all right, man, like this is the last thing we have to do, and it happens really fast. And they're like, where is he? He's over there on the bench. And then you have the really cool moment between him and Falcon, and he gives him the fucking shield, and you're like, oh Jesus, who better than Falcon to take on that shield?
Yeah. It doesn't feel rushed to me. Feels earned. It feels like,
It's earned, but like the actual time
yeah.
is just like whoa, like it's such a massive moment if you think about everything Chris Evans, Steve Rogers went through during that 50 years. You're just like Jesus, like that's a lot. That's a lot to process as a person.
I feel like not for the audience though, because we know he didn't have any adventures. We know that he lived. He got to have a life with Peggy.
Just chilled. Yeah, just chilled.
We know that he did that and he's happy. And Cap gets to have something for himself in this movie. And I love that, I love the growth of the character. Like when he says, you got to be shitting me when he encounters his past self. It's like the Cap we met in 2011 would never have used language like that. But now, he's been through the ringer. He's not the same man he was,
And he's around shitheads all the time. He's around like Tony Stark all the time, and he's like, yeah, I've learned some vocabulary. Yeah,
he's absorbed some of Tony's selfishness, and Tony has absorbed some of his selflessness.
And that is why I want to talk about Civil War one day on this show. It wasn't up for Oscars, was it?
It wasn't. Winter Soldier's the only Cap movie we could do.
We can make an exception. Just kidding. It's that's one of my favorites. It's like right up there with Infinity War and Endgames because that like those two, the idea of those two is just so cool, and it's obviously on it's front and center throughout that movie. So yeah, their ride is awesome. It's really special.
When they finally get to bury the hatchet, when Tony shows up with the time machine and he's like, resentment's corrosive and I hate it, and he gives Cap the shield. I love that little sting of the music, the like little bit of Cap theme you get when the shield's out, and it's like and Cap's just like, thank you. And it's like, oh dude, it's beautiful.
Yeah, good shit. All right, well, best scene, the Deacons. I mean
yeah, on your left.
Yeah exactly.
It's the arrival. It's the heroes have come. War is here. Time to fuck this purple bastard up. Let's avenge the fallen. It's great. And I almost wrote down when Cap lifts the hammer because it's just such an amazing, rewarding moment. But again, the voice is like, well, what about when they all show up in the portals?
Yeah, portals, baby. Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you got a point. So
your subconscious is saying the word portals more than any other word the past few days. Portals.
Every time I've been second guessing myself the whole time. It's like, well, what about the portals?
Yeah, next week we're gonna be doing a different movie, and you're still gonna be like portals. It's never gonna end now.
Yeah, but yeah, it is a crazy awesome, powerful. I can't believe they pulled this off scene where every hero we've met in the MCU shows up together to fight for their planet, and it's perfect.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's the best visual climax in all of the MCU. It's the best. They don't, this is why the Russo brothers had to do these two movies. They understand the balance of, you know, uh, fictional, like kind of wild, crazy, magical shit happening, but it also has moments of looking like a real war movie where you get like flashes of like Saving Private Ryan in this movie.
Yeah.
And the Russo brothers, they're really the for me a lot of Marvel climactic, finishing fight scenes like don't do it for me.
Yeah.
They're hard to pull off. I'm sure it's like a nightmare. But for whatever reason, the Russos are like, let's go. Like that's their bag. The best part of these movies is what it's supposed to be. It's like when all of the characters are on board and they're fighting, that's the best part of the movie. And that's how it should be. It should be visually stunning, and you should be watching this kind of operatic achievement.
Yeah.
And some other Marvel movies, they're good for the first hour and a half, and then you're like, that was kind of shitty. Like I was a little let down, and it might be because of who's directing it. It could be different circumstances, but the Russos like knocked that shit out of the park, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, in that scene, it's not, every little piece is attended to proper, so it doesn't feel like a big CGI screensaver fight. It feels like a
Yeah.
genuine battle. I mean, you've got like Ant-Man punching the Leviathan out of the sky, and
Yes.
Drax jumping on that dude's back and just stabbing him like a wild man, like he did in Guardians 2. Um, Spider-Man getting a hold of the stones and getting like fire rained down upon, and then Captain Marvel showing up and blasting his fucking ship out of the sky. Oh,
Exactly.
the hug that Tony and Peter share. Oh my god, I love that every time. Especially, you think
That's
back to it's not a hug. I'm just holding the door for you. We're not there yet, and now it's come here, kid. I missed you. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the best. It's so good, man. I'm glad we could do this. I feel like this is the episode you've been waiting for 3 years.
Yeah, I love a lot of different stuff, but at the end of the day, I know what my favorite movies are, and yeah, Avengers Endgames it creeped into my top 10. I love this movie to death.
Oh, that's cool. I love that. Into the top 10, and is it a few watches away from top five?
Is number 10. Let's not get crazy.
Oh, that's genius. I love that. Yeah, let's hold your horses there. You never know, man. You might have like a moment 10 years from now where you're like, actually, portals.
Yeah, the fucking
uh,
like ghost haunting me about the portals might just constantly start popping that movie closer and closer to number one.
yeah, you just or it like drives you crazy. You're like, fuck that movie. Portals. I can't get it out of my head.
They're gonna find me just like catatonic with portals written in blood all over my bedroom, and you're gonna be the only one who knows what happened.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna be like, I'll laugh at first, but then I'll be like, oh shit, this is serious. uh, Portals. Speaking of blood written on stuff, um,
Perfect.
this has been great. But we go down an alley that I've been waiting to go down for a while. That's David Fincher alley next week. We're going to be talking about 1995's Seven, which was up for just one Oscar. Best film editing for Richard Francis Bruce, a guy who collaborated with Fincher in the past. Um, I've been wanting to do Fincher for a long time. All we've ever done is Fight Club, so that was like episode 11. It's been over 100 episodes since we've done Fincher, and I feel like it's time. this time of year, during November, like after Halloween, starts getting a little colder. I always want to watch David Fincher movies. So I was like, okay, well, let's throw one on the Oscar Sunday schedule. Let's do one that I haven't seen this in a little while. I haven't like sat down and watched Seven in a few years.
Yeah.
Super stoked to do that. Of course, I'm a mega fan of Fincher's, so I kind of stand by all of his work. I'm gonna rewatch some movies that I love of his. I believe you're gonna watch a couple you haven't seen before,
Yep.
which would be what Panic Room.
Panic Room, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, I believe, is all I have left.
There you go. So you'll be watching a few Finchers as well as I, and we're gonna have a blast. We're gonna rank David Fincher's filmography, just kind of go down the line. So yeah, Written in Blood, that worked out just great.
I did
Uh,
not plan that. That was perfect.
I know. Anytime you can do Endgame and Seven back to back, you should. I'm looking forward to it. There's of course a lot of movies out right now that are kind of in the awards circuit. You know, that's that's something we might bring up a little bit next week at the beginning of the show. Is just kind of I'll kind of get with you and we'll kind of see what you've seen and what you're looking forward to throughout the rest of November and December because it's getting down to the nitty gritty. On Filmgasm on Wednesday, we'll be doing Living Daylights. That's going to be you and who? Colton?
That's going to be Caleb because he's the only guy on the team who knows Bond as well as I do. So,
That makes sense. Y'all just did Beyond the Bad with a Bond movie, so yeah, that makes sense. And then Beyond the Bad, you're doing a movie that you guys both like and I like. Scooby Doo, live action, 2002. Silly movie, but I like it. It's fun. So that'll be cool to listen to you guys try to defend a movie that's been shit on for 20 years now.
yeah. Also, pretty soon, we will be launching a new podcast that I'm doing with my friend Isabel Gonzalez called Fake True Stories, where we're going to be talking about biopics and the history therein. For a more thorough update, check out last week's Filmgasm, but that'll be popping out on a Monday coming soon. So yeah, we're excited.
Hell yeah, that's cool, man. I'm so excited to hear that and get to hear Isabel and what she's going to bring to that show. I know she's fucking stoked about it as well as you are. So that'll be cool. Obviously got a lot of stuff going on. Already getting close to the end of the year. It's kind of crazy. We've been getting after it, doing a lot of cool movies. So this is a blast, man. I feel like you got to get a lot off your chest. You got to talk a lot about something that you really, really care about. So this is clearly a 10 out of 10 kind of movie for you, Avengers Endgame. For me, it's an 8 or a 9. Infinity War is a certified 9. I like that one more. It's just like that's more my jam. The kind of darker, like where they lose is like more fun to me. But I do love Endgame. They stuck the fucking landing. Next time we do a Marvel movie, I think we should rank all of the 23 movies. Like, do like maybe not rank them, but like put them in tiers of like here's the best of the best. Here's the next bang bang bang.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a really cool way to we just talked a lot about the characters. I think it'd be a cool way to talk about the movies as a whole. Really shine a light on what we do think about the first couple Thors or first Captain America or the first two Avengers movies. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I feel like we opened a door here. We opened a portal, and we're not going to close it. So follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at FilmGazm. Check out the website. We got reviews up nearly every day. And we'll see you fuckers on Wednesday.